Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBox TV's podcast 243.
243? Seriously? We've been doing this that long? People still listen to us?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, just making sure.
I don't know. I'll just say I like the Joe Mez podcast better.
They do such a great podcast.
All right. Simmer down. I'm not picking on them.
Oh, God,
no. So I don't want anyone to misinterpret that. It's just...
That's why the post-production of this podcast is always way better.
No, even that, I think they beat us on. They don't do it, so they're a step ahead of us.
I bet you they would put some killer special graphics on us.
That maybe that they could
do. They're awesome at that.
And of course, little fun jab as we're, I don't even think a jab is the right word.
It's a jab at ourselves.
Yeah, exactly. Lots of conversation. We're going to get into it in a little while. Right off the bat, though, Disc Baron, thank you for the super chat.
Wow, thank you, Disc Baron.
Yeah, we'll get into a little bit of talk about coverage, what we're seeing in the Disc Golf Pro Tour media plan, the constant cries and screams for Joe Mez post-production as the world keeps yammering on and on and on and asking for, rightfully so.
They're getting. It's great.
And we're going to see some of that, and that's all going to be upcoming, which is great. I did learn today, though, that I forgot where the post was, but someone, again, told... It was a reference into that they don't like the lag that they see in live video, and that Joe Mez and Central Coast never have lag.
It's true. I mean,
that's a pretty nice feature that they all have over there in that post-production lag.
No lag. Technically, they've got a 24-hour lag.
Hey. All right. Anyway, here we are, and coming at you guys a little bit later tonight. Get it started off at 9:30 as opposed to 9 o'clock. Johnny V, you're always all over the country. I can just never keep up with where you are or what you're doing.
It's tough.
You're such a world traveler. And this morning you left for Florida and you've already returned. Was it Calvin Heimberg or Madison Walker that kicked you out?
Calvin.
Yeah. Okay.
He's bigger than me.
Yeah. Yeah, he's one of the few people that's not maybe taller than you, but he would whoop you.
I don't know. He's a pretty docile guy. He's a pretty nice guy.
He's unassuming, but I think he'd still whoop you, and it'd be funny.
He'd whoop me in disc golf.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I'm a dirty fighter, though. I mean, I think the last time I got into a fight was like 4th grade.
Well, okay. Well, then we'll see. I guess it
Calvin,
sounds like a
GBO, bring it.
Yeah, it sounds like it's been, we've already laid the groundwork. So, but Johnny just got into town. His work took him down to...
Destin, Florida.
Home of or nearby our pal Steve. Mango. Good to, when I'm always thinking about Destin, I'm thinking about Steve.
The U.S.'s largest Air Force base there. It is monstrous. Like, you drive for like 15 miles, and all around you is nothing. You're on a highway. All around you is nothing but Air Force bases. We landed at one of the airports there where they actually house a lot of the fighter jets. So every... 2 minutes, you just hear this rumble. You can feel it when you're at the airport and a jet takes off. And all I kept thinking was, like, cool, they're doing all these training exercises probably. And I'm like, I wonder how much each jet ride costs. Like $10,000, $20,000, $30,000. I'm thinking like the fuel, the time, the manpower. And I'm totally fine with it. We need to keep our guys on point. But it's just funny listening and watching that and just thinking all the time these people have to deal with this. And I understand it. That whole city is like 25% military people that come in and out. So it's ridiculous. I was down there kind of specking out a new company. I go in, my office brings me in. I take a look at all their networking gear, their copiers, their printers, their software, all that stuff, and then kind of do an assessment on what we need to do in case we happen to acquire that said particular company. And this one is on a much shorter time basis. So if we do end up going, I believe it's a day after we get back from GBO, I'll be flying back to Florida.
Oh, my. Again, you trendsetter.
I'm just jet setter.
Jet setter, sorry. Well, and trendsetter.
Well,
I mean.
We know, but.
Yeah. It's funny you say that because just the other day I was thinking, and this has actually come really hits home on this point as I'm trying to spit out some words tonight. I was getting ready to board my plane in Dallas the other night, And don't even get me started about the TSA or the new Clear company that's like works in conjunction with the TSA. Anyway, there was a gentleman who was walking out of the airport and literally had nothing with him. Not one thing that he was carrying. He didn't have a backpack. He wasn't pulling a suitcase. He was not did not appear to be an employee. That would have been a logical, but was not. He was dressed in jeans and just regular attire, so to speak. So I wouldn't think of him as an employee. Maybe he could have worked in some other office where he's not, required to wear a uniform or badge, of course. But it got me thinking, and him or people that are similar to him, when I see someone that also another gentleman had literally just a backpack, and I thought, I could not fathom going anywhere, even if for a day like yourself today, and only a backpack.
For this particular trip, I brought my laptop just because I don't like to leave anywhere without it in case anything emergency happens or I get stuck laid over anywhere. But I could have left with simply my phone because I go down there, I take a bunch of photos, I take notes on my phone if I need to, and I basically do an assessment that way. I don't need my PC for any particular reason. Everything I do is in the cloud nowadays. It was so nice getting off the plane. Like, our plane landed about 12 minutes early. I checked my pockets. Cool. Got my headphones. Got my wallet. Got my keys. Got my phone. Okay. Picked up my backpack. Walked out of the plane. Walked right to my car. Like, I didn't have to wait. It is so refreshing.
Of course, and of course, great. I don't expect you to be necessarily,
but what in a trip like
an overnight bag. But
you were going to take that trip. Let's say you pursued. After you cheated off me in college and you got through that's the sole way you got through college. No, I'm just teasing. You now have this job. What would you travel down there with? The only thing I could think of that I would have wanted was a power bank.
Yeah, I was gonna say, well, definitely my backpack would have probably been twice as heavy because I treat my backpack as if it's the equivalent of like 4 women's purses. Like, I have everything in my backpack you could possibly imagine, including plenty of stuff I don't ever need. The other day I cleaned out like $7 or $8 just in change, and I thought, why am I carrying around so much change that I never spend that's just weighing down my backpack? You're right. Obviously, some power banks. I would have probably had 1 or 2 computers with me, whether I'm editing or whatever. I personally, I would bring a change of clothes. And just in the absolute super rare case, of course, you were meant to go there this morning and meant to come back this afternoon or this evening, I still would probably bring 1 change of clothes with me, just in that freak emergency you get stuck somewhere.
And that's a valid point, because on the way back from where were we? Oh, we were down at Worlds when we went to 2 different airports, and my flight got canceled in Charlotte, but all my clothes I couldn't get access to it because it was in the plane, so they didn't give it back to me. It was just going to show up at my destination the next day. I had no spare clothes, so I wore the exact same outfit. I could see bringing basically underclothes. I could wear the same shirt and the same pair of pants again. But socks, underwear, undershirt is very important. Those are things that I could see packing with me, but I didn't foresee any issues. The weather was really good everywhere, and I wasn't really too concerned about it. And if I need to buy a little change of clothes, I can do that.
Yeah, well, again,
just that's how I roll.
Yeah,
if I need new clothes, let's buy it.
Yeah,
right.
I
bought new shoes yesterday.
Wow, again,
I know,
out there killing it. Well, anyway, I do, and as someone said on the board, like, that's almost looks like a red flag when somebody's traveling maybe too lightly.
Yeah.
Like, and I could understand that now that you say it that way. I just think, and whether it's like books, and my backpack would be it, but I definitely would bring it, and it would probably be jam packed full of stuff, just for all sorts of situations. Whether that is probably a book, which I usually travel with as well. Probably a power bank or 2, all of those types of things, plus some computers and Anyway, all right, guys. Well, tonight, with our little bit later start, we don't have a heck of a lot on our plate or agenda. I did reach out literally 2 minutes before we went live. Johnny confirmed, said, "Do we have a guest?" And I said, "No. With our late start, I didn't really know when or what to tell anyone." And then, sure enough, I saw on the board, and I thought right around the corner is, in fact, Glass Blown Open. So I reached out to the hair, Robert McCall, and just like that, he jumped. It's like he was like, yeah, I just sit here and wait every Tuesday night, hoping that you guys might reach out to me 1 minute before you go live and then ask me to be on the show.
Most pros should.
Tonight
Robert.
he gets his call. He gets the call. So we're going to have Robert on in probably about 15 or so minutes, and we'll talk and just get a little bit caught up on things that are going on. We keep having winners on. We're going to keep having some of the same people at this rate, having Paige Pierce and Paul Macbeth both doing exactly what we've seen them do a lot of these last couple of weeks, which is win.
Paige averaged like 992, I think I saw. Paul Macbeth, just as Doss had put it on the broadcast, slowly went into McBeast mode. It wasn't like a flip of a switch. It was, as Doss said, it was the turn of a dimmer switch, because it didn't feel like he was suddenly doing, like, dominating. But then you started looking at the score, and he just kept getting further ahead, and no one could catch him. We saw. Should we get into some results about?
Yeah,
Jonesboro?
Sure. Let's get into some results.
Let's talk about the Jonesboro Open. Was this one? It's just the Jonesboro Open. I know it was presented by Play It Again Sports.
I think it was the Play It Again Sports Jonesboro Open presented by Pro Discus, which is
correct.
All a mouthful, and I don't wish that upon anyone to have to always repeat that.
We will begin. Let's begin with the FPO. As we just said, Paige Pierce really shooting very well. And to say she didn't dominate because she only beat Kat by 1 stroke. It came down once again to the final hole, where she could have. Hole 18 on that course is not an easy hole. You need to hit a gap to start out with, or take a big hyzer and kind of put yourself in a not so perfect position. Pitch up, throw up to under the basket, and drop, and obviously drop in for par, and that's all surrounded by woods. So Paige had a she had to do some work to get this win, because her and Kat just went back and forth. And it was a really great battle. It was a lot of fun to watch.
Now, I'll say, full disclosure, I was in Texas, which I'll get to in a moment. But most of the days, it was kind of a similar situation for me that I find a lot, which is I end up editing till 3, 4, 5 in the morning. I get sleep for an hour or 2 or maybe 3, and then I get back up and I head out to a course. So most of the days, I was not able to keep up entirely on what was going on, both in the FPO in the morning, because that's when I was usually heading to the course or just getting to the course. And then the afternoons, of course, had MPO with the men. And however, the times I could momentarily check in, Paige wasn't the name I kept hearing. I kept hearing Kat. I think at one point I heard Haley King being talked about. I heard Rebecca Cox being talked about quite a bit. I heard Henna. Is it Blumrose?
Blumrose or
okay.
something. Blumrose.
I never heard her pronunciation on that, so I apologize. But
Val did the same thing. Val wasn't quite sure, so I think she pronounced it 2 or 3 different ways, just to cover the bases.
One of them has it. And I apologize. I never even heard the right one at all, so I'm not sure. But
yeah.
I heard all of these names that weren't just the ones you always hear, so to speak, and that was pretty cool to hear.
It really was. I mean, Paige made a comeback in the final round.
Okay.
I mean, she shot a 5 under compared to Kat's 2 under and Henna's even. So, going into that final round, Paige wasn't in the lead, and she just proceeded to get birdie after birdie after birdie after birdie. And then
she kept it very clean as well, it looked like.
She took a double on 16, which,
sure,
as we've seen, and there's been some discussion on web boards and stuff, 16 is a very difficult hole because you have to lay up to a small landing zone in order to get to the shot you need. And even then, some of the women with the huge headwind that was coming in, were having a hard time getting over the water because they were either hitting the tree off to the right because their discs were flipping up. You can't really throw a straight hyzer at it. You have to throw something that flips up. And it was very difficult for everybody that particular morning due to the headwinds. But Paige just kept it clean, and then it was tied going into the final hole, and Paige took that birdie. She put herself in that position. She just played hole 18 to perfection. And hole 18 was, I mean, if you want to really look at it, was the sole reason why Henna didn't win. Henna shot very good golf. That last round was actually not so great, but in round 2, she took a 6. And I believe in round 1, she took an 8 in round 1.
Wow.
Just got caught and couldn't get it. And then like 3-putted. Hole 18, I mean, judge it any way you want. People play differently depending on where they're at. But you could look at that hole as the sole reason why Henna was unable to take down this event. And, I mean, Kat just played very solid all around. A couple birdies, a lot of birdies, a couple bogeys. Really, it was. It
looks like Kat had a run there in the middle,
four,
birdieing 6, 7,
4 in
8,
a row.
9.
I mean, they both played really well. I mean, it was traditional Kat versus Paige at the end there, and I mean, Rebecca kind of fell off on that last round, and Henna, after about the 5th hole, it didn't appear like she was going to have a chance to catch the other women. It was exciting. It really was. I think for my money's worth, so to speak, the FPO division was much more fun to watch than the MPO division this week, simply because of the battle.
And now the other thing that I saw from some headlines on Saturday night were the fact that there were some 1,000-rated rounds. I don't want to say being thrown around, but it sounded like there were a number of them. Normally, you're talking about a few outliers in 1 or 2 that we may see on a given weekend. Usually we have 1 or 2 suspects that are at the helm of that. But this weekend, it sounded like there were a handful of them, including a Rebecca Cox, and some really good golf. Now, also to clarify, and again, it was debated and it will continue to be debated, Mandy Sharp, who's a Prodigy-sponsored woman who I know played there a couple years ago, she started what turned into a very healthy debate, saying that she was disappointed in seeing so many of the shorter tees at Jonesboro this year, and that she doesn't feel that is a way to go. And that's not a unique opinion.
No, of course not. There are plenty of women who feel that they should be playing from either the MPO or well, really that's it. They should feel like they should be playing from the same tees as the MPO, because anything less than that, maybe they feel like it's not respecting their game. But looking at, as Val had discussed a little bit during the broadcast, she actually really, really likes that when they shorten the tees, because it is, as a viewer, it's more enjoyable to watch more women shoot under par.
Birdies equal fun. I think I have a T-shirt that says that.
As opposed to watching them struggle and shoot 8, 9, 10 over par, which is probably about what they would have ended up at had they played the men's course.
Or more.
Or more. I mean, it is. And I mean, me personally, I'll take the 4-time world champs opinion almost every time. So I think Val has a very good leg to stand on. And Val's not a short thrower. She has distance herself, and she's still saying that. I don't like the argument. I think that as the women progress and get better and start throwing further, as some of these women like your Jessica Weiss, your Rebecca Cox, Henna, Vanessa Van Dyken, who's been shooting very well lately, as their distance grows or as new women come onto the course, we can look at saying, oh, wow, remember 5 years ago when this hole was pars for almost everybody? Look, now we have 25% birdies. Let's consider backing that hole up. I think adjusting the course based on the play is a very good and smart way to do it. Look at the statistics and do it. And I understand that some of these women really want to showcase their distance. I get it. But there's plenty of places to showcase it out on this course. I mean, we saw that. We saw a lot of holes here that are over 400 feet, 500 feet, 600 feet. They're not playing a pitch and putt.
Well, and I think the other point that kind of gets lost in this, and we've, throughout the years, I feel like beat this to death, but it does come up from time to time. Some people have said, and I think maybe even Paige or Jen Allen have referenced it in the past, that they feel like they're not being able to either showcase and or be rewarded for having that extra distance. And they feel that themselves is, okay, well, I throw farther than others, therefore, what's wrong with me having an advantage? And they still have an advantage, and I think that's the point that gets lost. When Paige can step up, and this is very true on a lot of different courses, Paige can step up to a 300-foot hole, depending on the situation, and throw a putter confidently, and throw a putter accurately. There are literally a handful of women in the world that can throw a putter 300 feet. So that is a huge advantage that
Oh,
Paige has. Some of
yes.
these women, and I will defer a little bit to conversations with Sarah Holcomb when she talks about you have a 325-foot hole. For a lot of women, that is a full-on power driver,
Mhm.
105% power to get your biggest rimmed disc, possibly near the basket, on a 320-foot hole. And then there's a dozen or so that can throw either a fairway driver or maybe even a mid or maybe a putter, whatever. You still have an advantage when you're throwing a much more
A slower
controlled
disc or a
shot.
controlled disc.
And I feel like that point gets lost.
And
And
as we see on the holes that are even longer where they can't reach them, their approach is much shorter. They are it is way easier for them to get a 3. Now, those type of holes, you might see the scores compress a little bit, where you're going to see more 3s. But I would rather be shooting 3 from 90 feet away than 190 feet away. And so there your distance becomes an advantage too. I would never want to see the FPO courses become like a pitch and putt where
of course not.
where most of the holes are under 400 feet. I think a good variety is important. I just don't think that they are. I don't think it's nearly as much fun for the viewer. It's not as much. It's not as interesting for some FPO players to play some of these just crusher courses that we're putting some of the top MPO at. And look at the MPO, because there's a lot of those guys outside of, you once you get to like 1,015 to 1,010, they're not Simon Lizotte. There's a significant distance advantage to these courses and some of these men, and they have the same thing. I mean,
Yeah, we're not. I think the argument is we're not in the Pro Tour and all TDs that look at it this way. And when you have shorter tees, they're not trying to make the courses easy for the women.
no.
They're just trying to appropriately outfit them to show off their best skill sets for the best experience of playing golf. And playing golf, as I think you could go out and watch any ball golf in the world, they don't design holes so that somebody's walking up to it and hitting 3-wood, sometimes 3-wood, 2 or 3 times in a row
No.
to get to some of these holes. That's what so many of our women's field would have to be doing on some of these holes that are really more appropriately designed for the distance that we see from the average male thrower. And it's not an insult to say men and women throw differently. For God's sakes, there's different skill sets and there's different approaches to how they're going to be challenged on the course. And again, this debate we could talk till we're all blue in the face, and I get it, because I've heard really great conversations out of Paige and out of Jennifer Allen and out of Katrina Allen, as well as out of Sarah Holcomb and Haley King and so many others that want to openly discuss it. But no one's trying to shorten the courses for the sake of shortening them to make them short and easy so every hole can be reached. But there has to be some intelligent design that goes into what is most appropriate for our women's tees.
And you can also look at it as as much as it pains me to say it, you can look at it as just a pure time-based issue. Putting some of the women on that MPO course, we already saw 4-hour rounds. Do we want to see 5 and 6-hour rounds from some of these women? Because that is what we will run into. So logistically, sometimes it just doesn't make sense because we need to get the women through the course. And then you need to get the men through the course. So there's a logistics argument to it as well that I see based on what we have to do, because we need to make sure that there's time for live coverage for the women and the men, and it just sometimes it wouldn't happen. I mean, we got on that final day, I think it was the final day, we got to hole 16 and there was a 4-group backup, 4 groups because of that wind and the women having a problem getting over that hole 16.
Yeah, and I can't speak too much to hole 16. It sounds as if there is a little bit of tweaking that needs to happen because of the landing zone, and I wasn't there for that
100% make that argument.
And so I think there's a design element, and then there's a sheer distance element, and we have to talk about that. And sometimes those are the same, and sometimes those are different. It sounds like hole 16 needed a little tweaking in its overall design.
I can understand. You want to argue, I think I said this too, you want to argue individual holes? I'm down for that, 100%. Hole design is a fantastic discussion to have. You don't like the landing zone, you don't like particular angle, you don't like, make that argument, period. I'm good with that. But just based on distance to me is.
It's a little.
Again, I look at
overly simplistic.
I look at the statistics and I
Yeah.
look at the logistics. I try not to look at it with a feelings-based emotion, and I'm not saying that some of the FPO are, some of them are not. Some of them probably have very valid arguments. I would love to see some statistical arguments to it.
Well, I think they're out there, and I think the
I'm sure
Disc
they
Golf
are.
Pro Tour continues,
And UDisc.
along with other TDs, UDisc and the Pro Tour, and many other TDs. I think are all taking those things into consideration. But I don't think the blind answer of men and women should always be on the same tees is the right answer. I feel like maybe some of our older style courses that might be the case. But
Yeah.
anyway. Okay,
so
we beat that one to death.
We did.
Congratulations, though, of course, to Paige Pierce. Couple of great, exciting weeks back to back.
Mhm.
Awesome to see, awesome to hear. And it sounds like having Henna here from Finland, I believe, right? Was that where is she from? Having her.
Yeah.
Okay. Having her here sounds like she clearly turned some heads and let everyone know that she's obviously a solid player. So to have her as part of the U.S. competition, hopefully that's something we're going to see her maybe return. I think for the Worlds is maybe what
I really
thought.
hope so. She was a lot of fun to watch. She
Good.
has some good power in her throws as well, and a pretty decent putt. But like I said, ultimately that whole 18 just got in her head, man, and she was able to slay the beast on the final round. But by then she was out of the race for the win. All right, so let's talk about. So it went Paige, Kat, Henna, Rebecca. Rebecca, as we said, has been having a bunch of good weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Jessica Weiss, and then Vanessa Van Dyken, who's also been playing very well the last couple of weeks. We'll roll over to the MPO division. Ow, my eyes hurt from all this blue. I don't understand. Paul Macbeth just he just proceeded to tear that course apart, and he was able to ease up a little bit on the final two holes because he didn't get himself into any trouble. Took 2 pars on them. Double G birdied the 2 of them to get the lead down to 3 strokes. But ultimately, you felt that Paul had it wrapped up by about hole 11. You just kind of had that feeling like he's not giving up these strokes. Not the way he's playing. His putting looked amazing. His driving was on point. He was classic Paul.
Well, I'm going to call him washed up. What did he have? 12 birdies that round?
I don't know. Oh, that's a lot.
Whoop-de-doo. And he had, what, 5
but
earlier in the day? So 17 birdies. That's not even as many as he had in Waco in one round. So, I mean, seriously, he had 36 holes to do it, and he only shot 17 under on the day, though, right?
That's true. 6,
yeah.
Yeah, he had 6 the first day and 12 that, so 18.
Where are you at now,
He had 18
bro?
birdies that day.
18 birdies, whoopee. Only shot 17 under, or whatever it was. Washed up.
Done.
Overrated.
Who needs him?
Clearly, he was throwing superior plastic before. I mean, I'll throw it all out there.
Wow, you're just going everywhere.
Yeah. Okay, maybe not.
So wait, so now, if he's winning,
Uh-huh.
can we blame Hannah for that? Can the rest of the field now yell at Hannah for having Paul win? Like, dude, he wouldn't be winning if it weren't for you. You're clearly his good luck charm. I mean, if it went the other way, it's got to go this way too.
That's fair.
I'm just saying, Hannah's the reason why Paul's doing well.
Okay.
Anyway, we'll move on from that subject. Double G had a great weekend.
Back-to-back years as runner-up. Is that correct?
Yes, back-to-back years as runner-up. He is. He really struggled with his putter in some spots, and if he was near the basket, it was in. But it kind of felt like that 25 to 35 foot range. He just couldn't dial in. He airballed a few of them, chained out on a few of them. He couldn't get that side together. And ended up coming up short to Paul by 3 strokes. Third place, Chris Dickerson, just a very consistent round, nothing flashy, typical Chris Dickerson. He putted well. He just didn't get enough birdies, which says a lot about Chris Dickerson because I think he had 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 birdies. Yeah, he shot an 8 down, no bogeys. So, but when someone's rattling off 12 birdies, he got. Chris didn't lose. He got beat, as we like to say. It's tough. It's a tough distinction.
Mm-hmm.
Eagle McMahon jumped up from the second card, shooting a 9 under par that round to take fourth place, tied with Paul Ulibarri. Go ahead.
Side note, happy birthday, Eagle. I believe he turned 21 this last weekend.
Oh, yeah, this last week. I was like, it's not today.
Maybe Saturday, either Saturday or Sunday, he turned 21. So happy birthday,
and
Eagle.
He shot at 21 under par.
I know.
It was destined to be. Not destined where I was just at.
Yeah.
But destined.
Ayo.
And like I said, tied with Paul Ulibarri. Emerson Keith quietly took a 6th place. Simon Lizotte, 7th place. Kevin Jones, who was on the lead card the final round, took 8th place. Kevin just... Where I think Double G had issues with putting from 25 to 35, Kevin had it from 15 to 25. He's an aggressive putter, and I think he's a streaky putter. When he's on, he's clearly one of the best in the world on the course, but he just missed some putts where you shake your head, and you're like, I did not expect him to miss that. That's not anything that I would normally see a top pro miss. And I think he just kind of got into a funk, and the putting was in his head. There was one particular hole that he was probably about 15 feet above the basket, and he like jump putted and blew over the basket by like 4 feet and went all the way down this hill around a corner, which gave him no attack at it. He had to just pitch up to get there. We've said forever that he's an aggressive putter. When he's on, he's great. When it's not, it bites him, and he's not going to win
I
if he misses.
I didn't see a lot of it, but the few putts I did see him miss, I felt like he was just off. Like, I mean, and a miss is a miss, but seemed like he was just a little bit off.
Yeah,
is that a fair? Is that
sure?
A fair, okay.
Well, I mean, sometimes he was a little bit off. Sometimes he was a lot off.
Okay.
So he was it just wasn't his weekend, or it wasn't his day, we'll say. He was on the lead card up until the final day. That last day really kind of kicked him in the junk.
Huh.
So
okay. Well,
it was a little rough watching, but ultimately, as Nate Doss said, he had nothing to be embarrassed about. He maybe didn't perform as well as he liked, but ultimately he was still I think Christina Linthicum, she had mentioned that she had found she was a new fan of his, because even after the round, he was jovial.
Yeah.
He was cheering on his competitors during the round, even when he was having a bad round. He's just a very energetic and gregarious guy, and it's easy to like him.
Yeah, I think that goes hand in hand with the story I told about Idlewild last year.
In 9th place, your 2-time champion, Ricky Wysocki, was not able to do it. He just kind of, that second round, I believe he was on the lead card, was it the first round? And it felt like he had a couple bad breaks where he hit and missed a putt and it got up and rolled. And then he missed a putt and it got up and rolled. And you could just see it kind of deflate him a little bit. And I don't think he was quite able to recover from that. And then 9th place tied with Matt Oram. So that finishes out the top 10.
All righty. Well, I'd like to get to some questions. There's a lot of people asking stuff on the board. I would like to get to a little bit of the nitty gritty in terms of, media plan. I kind of even made a little joke earlier when I released on our Facebook tonight saying that you would find our podcast here on YouTube. So there's some other conversation pieces that we'll have. But first, I want to quickly go over some of the results that I found where I was this weekend at the Amateur World Doubles presented by Hauk Design.
Is that a major?
PDGA Amateur Major.
Awesome.
Making me ineligible. Darn it. But no, that was going on this weekend down in Texas, Mount Vernon area. And I want to hammer through, recognize some of the winners. Oh, I met so many amazing people, both on the playing side, but also on the promoter and course owner side. I think of Mom, who I met out there, Diane Newsom, who I got to spend a lot of time with, actually, and was just an amazing woman, along with everyone else that was out there. But I'm going to read through a few of the results that we see. There has been one video I released, I think it was on Saturday. I basically just have to render out a very abbreviated one from Saturday. It rained, kind of like Jonesboro. Just nasty, disgusting, nasty rain, constant lightning, stand down for a couple hours, go back out, play one hole, get called off. That kind of thing happened on Saturday. And then gorgeous, just gorgeous on Sunday.
We saw the same thing with Jonesboro.
Exactly.
I mean, where the men got called off after literally their first hole. We heard a little bit of kickback on Twitter from Hannah, who we spoke about earlier, about the fact that I think if the lead card hadn't gone off, they could have scrapped the round. I don't know how that works, but I don't. She didn't say that particularly, but there was kind of a hint at something along those lines that because they started playing, they couldn't just wash the round, and then so they ended up having to come out the next morning and go from the lead card started at hole 2, completed, took a small break. They did a little bit of shuffling, and then the lead card went again at the normal time, and everything was great. That final, for the men, I will say that final Sunday was great. In the morning with the women, it was yucky. Like, it wasn't horrible, but you could tell that it just kind of was constant drizzle and wind. And then for the men, it just cleared up and was beautiful.
Well, it was beautiful on Sunday in Texas. So I'm going to recognize a few of the winners that I saw out there. Some of these people I got to meet, talk to, shake hands with, give hugs, all that good stuff. Some people I didn't, but I did meet a ton of great people. Ivan Torres and Sal Robles are your intermediate champions. Congratulations to them. Fred Needham and Michael England were your advanced masters champion, advanced grandmasters technically at 60 plus. Trevor and Ben from Florida. I mean, both rated 964, both playing in advanced grandmaster. I guess earlier it was senior grandmaster. Sorry. They were an advanced grandmaster, so advanced masters 50 plus, just destroying the field ultimately. They gave up some strokes. They gave up 7 strokes in the final round to still win by 6.
It's not a bad lead going into your final round.
So congratulations, Trevor and Ben, a couple of Florida guys doing some big stuff down there. Ben does a lot of stuff in the Orlando area with the Trailblazer. Trevor is the owner and proprietor there now over at the Clearwater Disc Golf Store, and I know he's working on some big stuff. So thank you guys. It was great to see you guys out there. Ken and Doug are your champions in Advanced Masters. I think they ended up winning with a 3-stroke margin. Team Love Chop. I did interview them during the first day. That's in the video blog. They went on to win it, so congratulations to them. Here's one of the secrets that I learned. Team Love Chop, along with the Florida boys, they all stayed in the same place. So if you won a championship this weekend, just Airbnb it with another set of champions from another division.
How do you figure that out, though?
You get smart, I guess. I mean, I don't know. I don't know how you figure it out ahead of time. Advanced women, there were 2 teams out there. I got to spend time with all 4 of them, all 4 of the women, and it was a riot. They were great getting to know all of them. But ultimately, Amber and Mary were your champions, and they were just crushing from the get-go. They both throw far and putt pretty well. It doesn't sound like either of them play in a ton of tournaments. I don't know if that'll change, but it was great to put that in perspective for me a little bit. Amber, who was also really good, both of them very good. Amber's PDGA number is 112,500.
Don't tell me that.
And 66.
These numbers,
I know.
They're 100,000 after mine.
I know. It melts my brain a little. And then also got to see Jamie and Leanne, just again a bunch of awesome women. I got to play a little bit of cards with everybody, with the Florida boys, with the advanced women. So we played a little cards during the backup. Congratulations to them. And then, which is what you're going to see. So put on your earmuffs now, your plugs, your headphones, whatever.
Take your earphones off.
Well, yeah, or whatever you're doing. If you don't want to know what happened in the advance, but I've got an epic battle where I caught up with them for the last half of their round on Sunday morning. And then spoiler, they went into a playoff, and that was no short task either. So in a tie, we saw Brandon and Andrew in second place, first loser, and Jeff and Jacob from Austin in first place. So congratulations to those guys. I've got some great footage, some great action from those guys. It was an awesome battle, and it was my first time at Amateur World Doubles presented by Hauk Design. It was great. Sela Ranch is rated right now, I believe, is rated the number 2 course in the world. And for many, many months or even years, it was rated the number 1 course in the world. So right there, to know that you're going there and able to play on that property and you're able to take that course in. And I didn't even get to see every inch of that property due to the rain and a little bit of the scheduling chaos on my end. Well, scheduling meaning rain chaos. Just there's a creekside course and a lakeside course, and the host and everyone over at Sela Ranch and the Hawks, and I can't say enough about it. They really, really just knocked it out of the park. The trophies were amazing. This year, I believe Discraft was actually a sponsor of the event as well, a relatively healthy sponsor. And then being over at the Texas Twisted and Trey Deuce, the two courses over on the other side of town. Yeah, if you ever, and here's my best way to put it, you need to, in my case, fly into Dallas or get to Dallas, and then it's about 90 minutes slightly east and a little bit north, get to Mount Vernon, and then play those 4 courses. Well, or just attend AM World Doubles, but you need to spend a weekend there. Go play those 4 courses, and I absolutely promise you, you will not be disappointed. You're talking about some of the best courses in the world, and they're within 25 minutes of each other, 2 on one property, 2 on another. Yes, I will gush about them because they're just really that good. So that was this weekend. It was awesome. I'm sorry I missed Jonesboro. I kind of consumed it from afar, a little bit of snippets, which we'll talk about. But AM World Doubles, Hawk Design, John and Dee, and the PDGA had a huge crew and staff out there, tons of volunteers and assistant tournament directors and everyone else, all hands on deck. So thank you. It was just so great. And like usual, just humbled by the outpouring. So many people walking up and saying, hey, we watch your show. We watch the podcast. You're way better than Answer Man. You know, all the things they usually ramble or spit out at us.
I mean,
they're like, your hair is so much nicer than Robert's.
That's
like,
almost word for word what everybody tells me.
I know. So when we go places.
It's weird when it's EMAC, too.
Yeah, I know. It's like, that's awkward, EMAC.
But thanks.
So it was awesome. Amateur World Doubles presented by Hawk Design, PDGA Major, and 200 and was it 288, 220, 220 players, including, and I apologize, I don't have their names handy. There was a team from Finland that was there as well. So awesome. Look for that footage. I'm going to have Saturday's abbreviated vlog released tomorrow or late night tonight, depending when we're done. And then I'll have that coverage from the final round that will release in the next day or two as well. So you're going to have a good smattering of coverage over the few days, which, again, took a little bit of a turn thanks to the weather. But hopefully you guys enjoy everything that's put out there. So thank you to Hawk Design and the PDGA for supporting that effort. All right, enough gushing about my amazing experience and that I had down in Texas. I got asked a lot, like, oh, you're not in Jonesboro, why not? And I'll just reiterate, when originally we had talked with the Pro Tour and we, kind of had our separate plans and went our separate ways back at the beginning of the year, I was flattered that I was, approached to go cover something like this, and I immediately jumped on the opportunity, and I was excited to go do so. So when we started having conversations with Steve and the Pro Tour, that to me was a little bit of a hurdle or a sticking point, saying I wasn't going to be involved with Jonesboro. I was committed, to the people in Texas and to this event and the PDGA and the Hawks. And I'm super glad. I miss Jonesboro, of course, but I'm super glad I had the experiences that I did. So more golf. We got Jonesboro golf. We got Texas golf. So thank you and thank you. And with that, we have Robert McCall, I think, is going to be getting on with us in just a moment.
Yeah, he's just got to log into Skype. As soon as I see him log into Skype, then or he can call us, or I'll call him.
We'll check in with Robert. Of course, GBO is just around the corner. Seeing everyone, kind of move out of either Texas and Florida. A lot of them convened then in Arkansas this weekend, and then making their way up to Glassblown
Open. We need to figure out when we're going to leave for that. We've discussed.
Yeah, that'd be a good idea.
Possibly Easter night, possibly the next morning. We're not sure. We'll figure it out.
I didn't have anything too cocky or funny to say to that.
No,
Yeah,
there's
we'll
nothing.
get it figured out. We're going to see everyone. I talked to Doug Bjerkes, and yeah, super excited. We're going to see so much coverage. We're going to have both live men and women's coverage coming at you all 4 days. So that's 8 rounds of live golf coming at you guys in Jonesboro, in GBO this upcoming week, next week, whenever it is.
Woo!
I'm already dizzy. I forget what day of the week it is. So
Tuesday, we're on a podcast.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
Yeah, if you guys want to watch live, if you're listening to this anywhere out, you can come to SmashBoxxTV's YouTube page every Tuesday at 9 p.m. normally Central.
Yes, that's a good way. And then next week we'll have to figure out exactly what our schedule is going to be. We're going to try and assess. We're going to be doing the live Q&A session. That's happening from the Granada. So there's going to be a players meeting. We'll put that out live on Smashbox, and then there's also a Q&A panel
next week
that's been happening next week.
That's next
a week from
Tuesday?
today.
Oh, crud! Wow.
Yeah, a week from today.
I feel like it should be further away.
Yeah. So that's what you're going to see in roughly 1 week, and we'll get that all figured out and situated. And in the meantime, we'll be able to talk to Robert and see if he's got anything up his sleeve for next week. Am I commentating with him?
I believe you are.
Oh.
We're gonna find out what the weather looks like, and we've hopefully we're hopefully gonna get some things figured out as far as all that other good stuff. And
all right, you're gonna chit chat a little bit, or I'm sorry, you're gonna try and get Robert on. Meanwhile, I'm gonna kind of catch up on the board a little bit, where I see the Rumbles going on this weekend. Yep, best of luck to everyone that's going to be over in the Quad Cities area. I've covered that event a number of times throughout the last few years. So, and I know we were live with Smashbox there in 2014. Yeah, so we're going to see a lot of people shift over there before they head actually down to the GBO. Nick says, I owe you a big hug if I see you in Emporia. Nick, that sounds like a plan. I'm always up for a big hug. And also I see Seth Fenley from the Pro Tour. He's out on the board. Says he thought that it was going to be Johnny and Terry commentating. Don't know if I can watch the GBO now.
No, unfortunately, I can't do commentating. Someone has to be doing the computer switching. I could try to do both, but
you were just in a plane today. You're so talented.
I wasn't flying.
I know
the plane.
you were in a plane. All right, it looks like we have in our digital green room our good buddy Robert McCall. Johnny's gonna click a button. You're so good at that.
I don't know what button to click.
Try that one.
There it is.
Yeah, hello.
Hey, Robert.
I can't hear y'all. Hold on. I can't hear y'all.
Robert McCall is getting fixed up. It's probably on our end that he says he cannot hear us.
What the heck?
Johnny's going to press a button. Hold on. You see this
Hold
cue?
on.
Hold on.
Hold on 1 second.
1 second. Johnny's first time
I
pressing
still
buttons.
can't hear you guys if you can hear me.
Hold on. Just got to push this one little button. Oh, no, I don't want to do that. Hold on 1 second, Robert.
For our audio
I've got
listeners, Robert is staring at us,
Okay.
and we are staring at him, and Johnny is trying to press a button.
I will press a button, don't you worry.
The question is, when will it be the correct button?
Let's go
Thank you.
with...
Yes. Thank you. Yes.
Meanwhile, Robert
Thank you.
is getting
Yes.
touched up with his makeup from
All right.
off
No.
camera.
We'll be right back. There we go. And now, without any further ado, we should have Robert McCall being able to hear us.
Robert,
Here you are, Robert McCall.
I can hear you now.
That was totally on me.
It always is. All right, Robert, how we doing tonight, buddy?
I made some changes to my whole vMix system for this whole JBO that we'll get into in a little bit, but ultimately it needed just a reboot. So we are golden, and we are ready to go. Robert McCall, first of all, congratulations. I heard via, I don't know, some other podcast that maybe you got some sort of promotion at Dynamic Discs.
What?
Yeah, it's a fake promotion.
Oh.
Did
you finally get rid of Rusko? You got rid of Rusko? Good. He's holding the place back. Obviously.
Right. So on the live broadcast of Waco, I was catting for Paige Bierkus, and Jeff Spring and Nate were commentating, I think that's right, or maybe Jeff and Val. And I was called by a couple of different titles at Dynamic Discs. One was Dynamic Discs manager, so like of everything, which sounds right.
Yeah, should be.
Yep. And then I was called something, I don't remember what it was. But so people have since just started calling me Dynamic Discs manager over everything, and I'm down with it.
I mean, ultimately, you should be the one in charge of Bobby Brown, EMAC, production, Rusko, all the Ruskos that work there, shipping and receiving,
HR.
I don't know why they need anybody else there.
Nobody here's arguing with you.
Now, maybe did I hear somebody at your house in the background there?
No, you didn't hear anybody. But yes, AJ is here, and also, hold on, here you go. You get a little AJ.
Okay, that's enough.
That's way more than enough. That's way more than enough. Get him out! Get him out!
They said get him out.
Those caterpillars over his eyes scared me.
Who works for Parsave Productions, and then Shay is here and Walter is here, so it's a great day.
All right. Sounds like you've got everything you could possibly need there. So as everyone has now transitioned out of Jonesboro, I mentioned a few moments ago, we saw a lot of people in Texas for a little bit of a Texas swing, or they were in Florida for a Florida swing. There were 3 A-tiers that I was actually attended all 3 of those A-tiers in Florida. Then everyone's gone to Jonesboro. I think we'll see either some people take the weekend off or the Rumble or a few other events this weekend, but then they're coming to town, Robert.
Yeah.
Is Emporia ready?
Some of them are already in town. I can't stop it. It's just gonna happen.
Johnny's got a crop feature.
He's like
we can just
he's like 1 inch of eyebrow away from being burnt.
Stop. But yes, we'll have people start coming in town. AJ came in town around the same time last year, but players will start coming in town as early as Thursday, Friday, and get their rounds in because we're starting on Wednesday this year. So a little bit earlier, I think we'll see more people out on the country club and the other courses pretty early.
So let's quickly recap a few of the major changes, or just make the clarifications as to what we're going to see. You just kind of alluded to it. 4 rounds as opposed to 3 this year. A start on Wednesday as opposed to Thursday.
Yep.
And then the women this year not only are we covering them live all 4 rounds in the morning and then the men in the afternoon, but the women are going to be playing country club all 4 rounds as well, just like the men are. Now, different tees or not?
I think 7 different tees and 2 different baskets.
Okay. And who has been that driving force? Is that primarily EMAC, or has it been a little bit of by committee or a group of people, or Doug, or who's been that driving force behind some of the changes that we're going to see out at Country Club?
EMAC a lot, because I think he keeps his finger on the pulse of what touring pros like and want. And when we do everybody on one course, I think it's a little bit easier to do the live coverage. That works best for everybody. We know that Self Signal is good at Country Club, as opposed to, I don't know, like Cottonwood Falls and the courses that they played last year. Yeah, and Olpe. Oh gosh. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I think it was just a logistics thing, but also it's a good test of a course. Mostly open, but we've had some changes to the course that brought some new trees into play, different lines and things like that. And I think it's going to be really competitive all around with the OB and the new design.
Well, and another addition or upgrade and improvement is also there's going to be there's dedicated tee pads for every hole as well, isn't there?
Right. Yeah. No more tee pads on the sidewalk. I think that makes a huge difference. Some of those were slick, not graded properly. The biggest one that comes to mind is like hole 15. That kind of huge hyzer out and around the trees. It was just down at the end of the at the end of the pad, and that's not good for anybody. So level pads, none of them on sidewalks, all around it's going to be better.
How much golf gets played out at the country club that's not disc golf? How much regular ball and stick golf gets played out there?
Oh,
Yeah,
there's
like-
plenty of country club members.
Okay.
I don't know how many, to tell you the truth, but quite a few.
So it's actively used. So if somebody went out there, I'll say in 2 months and goes out there on a Tuesday, what is there a ratio of ball golfers to disc golfers, or will it be pretty much just ball golfers at that time?
Almost all, ball golfers.
Okay.
Pretty much. Yep. I mean, a lot of the locals don't really play. Sorry, I'm adjusting. I'm having to sit up extremely tall to keep things out of my face. I'm just going to lean a little bit back. What do you guys think?
Lean back, bro.
Lean
Let's see
back.
that chiseled neckline of yours, chin. I mean, get comfortable, man.
Yeah. This is
You got
SmashBoxx. You'll be here
shorts
for a
on?
while.
Welcome to. I do have shorts on. The times I've been on before, I haven't had any pants on, so y'all are welcome this time.
No, just like when we commentate, I'm fully aware.
That is correct.
It's
so
part
anyway,
of Robert's rider.
It is. Pantsless in studio. All right.
That's right. I mean, sorry. When I show up to answer, man, I'm like, sorry guys, this is how it's going to be.
Yeah,
This
like
is
you said earlier, no complaints here.
That's right.
No complaints.
But I think most of the people that play country club are golfers, and then the occasional disc golfer.
So let's sidetrack just for a moment. It seems very appropriate, and the timestamp is here. Let's sidetrack to our godfathers over in the regular game of golf. Did you consume any of the Masters or the final day or the storylines and all of that stuff? Is that something that's in your DNA?
Absolutely. I wouldn't say in my DNA. I haven't kept up with it my whole life, but I've really started to love golf in the last few years. I've enjoyed watching it for years before. I've started playing a little bit here and there, and now even more so, I realize how difficult it is. And so it just brings a whole new respect for what they're doing. And I look forward to the Masters definitely every year. And then we keep the Golf Channel on our TV, and so we'll watch Saturday and Sunday a lot whenever tournaments are going on.
What is your reaction to this historic event and the way it went down this weekend? How does that make you feel?
Dude, I'm telling you, this had to be one of the coolest sporting experiences that I've been around for, just because it seemed like every last person was rooting for exactly one thing to happen, and that's for Tiger to win, right? From the get-go. And like, golf has been like that for a long time. When Tiger's doing well, golf is going good, obviously he had his fall from grace and then injuries and surgeries and things like that. But it was just kind of crazy to see every last person wanted the same thing, and it happened. And it's like you knew it was going to happen. I likened it today to in 16 and 17 when Ricky was just making every putt he looked at. Not to say that he's not still a great putter, he is, but there was times when he walked up to 60 footers and you were just like, yeah, this is in. And you didn't know why. It's just like, yeah, he's going to make it. There's a way that he looks. He's going to make it. And Tiger did that, 15, 16, 17, those tee shots, those approaches. It's just incredible to watch. Like, he's going to do it, and then he just does it to perfection. He almost rolls it in on 16. I feel like that would have been the craziest ace that there ever was. So I loved it. It was a really cool experience, and to see so many people in contention who are major champions and up and comers. And I don't think we've seen anywhere close to the last of Tony Finau. I think he's exceptionally talented. So I loved watching that, and then got to watch some Jonesboro at the same time, which was awesome.
So what do you think we should learn? And we're all, in some way either heavily or on the fringe of media. What do you think we should be learning and taking away from the experience that everyone had consuming the Masters this week? In a practical sense, what do you think disc golf should be taking away from it?
That's such a hard question, because we saw somebody, I think in our chat today, said disc golf should become like the Masters.
Great idea. Done.
Love it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Cool.
I hadn't thought of that.
Yeah.
What were we thinking? So
Does the Masters have a block party? Doubt it.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Do they have a
And
Raz round, a rainwater Raz round this year? Doubt it.
Come on, thank you. You're selling it for me, and I love it.
They don't get together in the Granada or have Granada chocolate made frisbees. Psh.
I'm telling you, dude. I feel like the Masters should become GBO. You're welcome.
Yes.
That's untrue. Don't quote me on that. But yeah, I think it's just crazy to see when there's a tournament like that that has so much tradition built up that even just walking onto that course and even people talking about the course, it feels like hallowed ground. You know, it feels like there's some the gravitas of what happens there is so real and it's palpable, right? And I don't think we quite have that in disc golf yet. Maybe the closest thing we have is USDGC, because it's the same course every year. It's it's got years and years of tradition, and I think we need to keep on the track that we are. And I think the more that our live does well, I think that's where we succeed. Honestly, post is awesome, and where we are right now, I think having both is so important because there's some people that just don't have 4 hours to dedicate to a live broadcast.
Sure.
But
so they say.
Yeah, what they say, priorities. But yeah, I think having both is super important, and having that live captive audience creates something that you just can't get from post. You just can't get it.
Correct. So, and to follow that point up, I'll say, I think it was a tweet from Wysocki that said something along the lines of, if you're not watching the Masters, this week, are you really a fan or something like that? And again, this is, I kind of opened the show joking around with our friends over at Jomez, but just in general, like you just said about post, you can't replicate some of those feelings and some of those emotions, which is why every major event, sporting or otherwise, takes place live.
Yep.
And because those feelings can't be, reproduced, and you're not getting them. And you're right. We have a long way to go in terms of perfecting live. Don't get me wrong.
Oh,
but
yeah.
I really, of course, I'm a little biased, but I have a real challenge when people say, "Oh, why do you even bother with live?" And it's like, I would ask the same question of how many of you sat around and thought, "Man, I can't wait to watch highlights of the Masters come Monday morning." Like, no, that's what I'm gonna do.
I'm watching Tiger on Sunday.
Yep.
And I think we don't have so much that sense of urgency because we do have such high quality post production, right? And people are willing to wait on that. But yeah, it's like you said, every other major sporting event that happens live. That's what people tune in for. And the reactions that you get from the commentators, from the players, you are feeling them not really at the same time, but close. As the competitors are. And so I think there's something about being in that moment that's so important to live broadcasts that if we ever did away with live, I think it would be a huge mistake. Job security for you guys too.
Yeah, obviously.
Maybe not.
No, and I think
who knows?
I think tying it into DD, I think a superb example of that was Worlds last year with Paige Yerkes.
Yes.
I mean, the post production looked great, but there wasn't the feeling that you had when you were walking with her and her mom, and Doug was there, and there's just you can't replicate that. And to me, that's the reason why we keep doing live. I mean, that particular moment will forever sit with me as one of the greatest moments we have ever broadcast. And and you just don't get it the next day. Like,
right. 100%. And we did. Oh, hey, pup dog. Hey, we were, so I was standing next to Paige whenever that happened, right? I mean, I was on the 18th with her. We did, hey, hush. And whenever she won, it was just like, it was so emotional because you're right there. You feel that. And you don't get the same from live, but you definitely get it more from live than you do from post. Even when we did like the full round coverage of just Paige's shots with her commentating on the shot, awesome and like super cool stuff, but it honestly doesn't hold a candle to being there or getting to experience it live. So I think I think it's true.
Well, and we're going to keep at it, of course, and I know everyone that has supported us along the way, and people that believe in us. And I think of Jeremy Rusko, and I think of Bobby Brown and all of DD, who has been so supportive of our efforts. I always really cherish that moment when I usually get a little bit of a hug from a Rusko who is enjoying himself as the week goes on.
No, not Jeremy.
And then
usually Friday or Saturday.
And then he always kind of reassures us that not only are they going to, DD is going to continue to support us, but he really likes, the direction in which we're going to try and, put out a product that hopefully people can enjoy. And we're always going to have our struggles, and there's always going to be the next hurdle or the next obstacle to overcome. But it's been great having support, like I said, from people from Rusko and all of DD and the Pro Tour, who obviously feel really strongly that that's something that needs to continue to happen. So
yeah. Feelings mutual for you guys, 100%.
Well, appreciate it. So next week, we are looking very forward, like I said, to all of the action. Do you know, and it's funny, we're going to talk about this because I don't think we have yet. Is it going to be you and I calling the shots all day? Is that the plan, men and women?
As far as I know, we are strapping in for a marathon of commentating, my friend. Tear Bear in the Hair live for 7 hours.
Wow,
I like
that
it.
got a nice chuckle.
That got shaped pretty good.
Oh, I thought that was AJ. No, super excited. Then that's going to be
in your face, dude.
And we're not going to spoil it all, but I think we got a few tricks up our sleeve and hopefully some really cool things that we're going to be able to bust out as next week rolls on. I know I may have mentioned it already. Rainwater Raz Round. That's something that's coming. We've seen that advertised and is a no-brainer. Is there any other things that maybe haven't been actively promoted or talked about that we make sure everyone should know about next week?
I think if you're at GBO and you don't have the GBO app, then you're missing out. Yep. And we don't make money if you download it. It means nothing to us financially. It's just it helps you stay so much more connected. You can get notifications on the app of what's coming up. It's the easiest way to keep up with the schedule. And with the earlier start, it kind of allows us to space things out a little bit more. And everything feels schedule-wise like it's in the place that it needs to be. So we start players meeting Tuesday and then start getting into the evening activities after that. And I think if you don't get that app, you're missing out. And, there's just so many things to see on there schedule-wise. We've got live shows. We've got a beer fest. We've got, obviously, the bonfire is a huge thing. The block party is a huge thing. And I'm really excited this year for FPO final round, MPO final round on Saturday. The amateur divisions and the age-protected divisions will already be finished. And so we're hoping that a lot of those people will stick around Saturday and come out and spectate, get a nice gallery for those guys and girls because they deserve it. Crown a champion maybe around 3 p.m. or something like that. And then half an hour later start the Raz round, which is, I promise you, it's going to be wild.
Yeah.
Terry, because you've been in Nantucket multiple times. I've only been once, but that's hands down in my top 5 disc golf experiences to get to be a part of the Raz round. It's so much fun. It's incredible.
Yeah.
And there, I mean, we had a great crowd of I don't know, what do you think? 150 people? That's awesome. And I would be surprised if we don't have,
there could be 10 times that.
On it, but it's going to be huge.
Yeah. There could be 10 times that amount of people consuming it.
It's going to get wild. So, yeah, I can't wait. I've been working on my commentator voice. I've been doing my vocal exercises, so we'll be ready to go. I will not experience fatigue while talking. Okay. But then when we get out to the Rainwater Raz round, I'm going to take over the mic there and kind of do my best Nate Sexton Champs vs. Chumps impression, and just hit them with the cold hard facts, whether they like it or not.
Wow.
Wait.
That
Get a little sassy.
That's worth the price of admission right there, folks. The sassy McCall. I mean, it doesn't.
You wait.
Bring the sass.
Been waiting all year.
The Q&A panel is something that's been a pretty big hit. That's something we're going to cover live on Smashbox. Of course, people should be at the Granada consuming it for themselves in person. But if not, they can be watching it live, through our feed. Who do we have, and is it similar to what we've seen in previous years?
That's a great question.
Why don't you check the app?
I used to know who we had,
Okay.
but
And-
you know what? I have the GBO app, so I can check that for you real quick.
Wow. Okay. Well, you do that.
Yes, please.
And then also the players' meeting will be taking place, and the
That's
Granada.
right. Both
I
the
mean,
Granada.
talk about a funny problem to have. The Granada Theater is this amazing venue and this great place that treats us so well, and I think is going to treat us even better this year than ever before. And it can't even house all of the players if it wanted to, because
That's
there's
exactly
that
right.
many players there.
So we're doing it at the school again, or the
No,
oh,
it'll happen
No,
at
it's
the
at the
Granada
Granada.
still.
oh, it's at
Yeah.
the Granada. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I gotcha. So yes, it's at the Granada, but then I think the capacity there is 800 or 900 people.
Okay.
We will have, I mean, we won't know until the start of the competition, but around 1,600 competitors. And so the plan is to get as many people as we can to the Granada and still be within fire code, because that's important. And then do some, the live broadcast for people who can't be there. But then we're hoping to have a couple of areas outside of the Granada, maybe just right outside on the street or maybe in a adjacent building where people who aren't able to be in there can still have the same experience right next to it. I'm hopeful that that'll work out. I think that'll be really cool. But before that, we have the pro panel, presented by the PDGA. And we got some, I'm going to enjoy it. I'll just tell you right now. So we got world champion Greg Barsby. Don't know if you've heard of him. It's pretty good. World champion Paige Bierkus. Also pretty good. We got Paul Macbeth, current USDGC champion. Have you guys heard of him? He's good.
Has he won a Worlds, though?
He's won one Worlds 4 times.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
I think I've heard of him. Yep.
Yeah. And we got last year's GBO champion, Eagle McMahon.
Okay.
Pretty solid. Then we got, man, I like to call myself the hair, but this guy's probably actually the hair.
Conrad?
James Conrad. That dude, okay. The Jomez headshot of him before Waco.
Yeah.
Come on, dude. That, I was dying.
Here's what
He's
I'll
a funny
say.
guy.
Here's what I'll say. I think Nate Perkins is giving him a run for his money. That hair that Nate has.
Oh, take it to Disc Golf Debate Group.
Is that one? I was just gonna say, Perkins is pushing a mane, and let me say that's not bad.
Perkins's hair is powerful,
Yeah.
quite. But then, speaking of long curly hair, I objected against this.
Oh, I know.
So-
I know where this is going then.
Let me just say, I did not want this to happen, but for some reason, we're going to have the highest rated lefty in disc golf, Zach Melton. Yeah, see, boo is correct.
Yeah.
And I assume that's what everyone's going to do at the pro panel. I told Doug that was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, you guys don't have to rebrand it. I mean, you're calling it a pro panel.
It would be nice just to have him like at a separate little table, like a kid's table.
Lefty's over there.
You're fueling the fire. Give me all the ideas, because I guarantee there will be no fewer than 5 burns on Zach before he leaves the stage. The first will be in the intros. I'm just telling you right now. I got that one planned out.
Nice. Well, and in all seriousness, Zach, and maybe you can answer this because I'm not sure, and I don't remember if I asked Zach directly. Zach did join me and then Calvin Heimberg for commentary for Tallahassee, the Open at Tallahassee, presented by Dynamic Discs, and he was so well received in the comment section of YouTube, which is where you go for all your good news and info.
That's where all commentators go to die.
Yeah, but he genuinely, though, was very, very well received, and a ton of comments about how much they enjoyed his commentary. Maybe that was really just a hint at how much they didn't like mine. I don't know, but they really enjoyed him. And how has he done a lot of commentary on post production, or you know?
To my knowledge, no. I know he did a little bit recently with Kevin Gleason for a tournament that they did with Gatekeeper Media.
Yep. Okay.
But yeah, to my knowledge, I don't think he's done a lot of commentary. What sets Zach apart and what makes him so special is just that I don't know of a person who doesn't like Zach. You know, he's extremely funny, and well spoken, especially when when he wants to be. When he's trying to burn you, he's going to be really well spoken. And so if he focuses his powers for good, I could see him being an exceptional commentator. I would never say that to his face. I will only tell him he's the worst. But in in close company here, I think he's pretty great at that sort of stuff. So I'm excited to have him up there. It's going to be good.
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to it. And like you said, the highest rated lefty in the world. It would be interesting to put together that list, and I'm sure somebody could do a quick query of sorts. But seeing where our lefties are, when you think about
Devin.
Yep, Devin Owens.
Yep, Clemens is up there.
Chris Clemens, of course. Now, Chris has had that title at one point, right?
He has before.
Yep. Okay. So Chris of Team DD. Also Nichols, we've seen him doing his thing, and I'm not sure where he's rated at the moment, but it's kind of interesting watching that list as it kind of shuffles around from time to time.
Right. I want to say the highest Max has been, I think, is in like the 10 teens.
Yeah, I was going to say 10, 16 maybe.
Right. Yeah, obviously an incredible player. But yeah, at least as of the time of writing that press release, Zach was the highest rated lefty in the world.
Very cool. Well, it will be good to see them out there. And now, where do people, are all the comments, or I'm sorry, questions, have all the questions already been submitted, or can people still submit them, or how does that work?
That's a great question. We put out a Google form a little bit ago on Facebook just for users to come in and submit what they want to. We will push that back out again this week so we can collect a few more questions and prepare for Tuesday. So the best place to look for that would be probably the Latitude 64 DD and Westside fan page on Facebook. If you aren't already a member, you can join up. I'll probably post it on my Facebook page. I don't have a fancy athlete one like these guys. It's just Robert McCall. You can check that out. And if we push out anywhere else, I'll message you guys and we can get some good questions out there.
Now, is there anything else? I don't know if we actually answered or not. Rainwater Raz Round. Obviously a really big deal in addition this year. Is there anything else that's major that we should be touching on that's we should be that's out of the ordinary or new for this year's GBO?
Not that is new, I don't think. I mean, we'll have this should be the largest PDGA tournament that's ever happened, as far as I know. Okay. That's pretty cool.
It is.
It's always very cool.
But as far as like new activities go, yeah, I think Rainwater Rouse Round is probably the biggest addition. And then having both the top women and men on the same course, we're excited for that. To hopefully get one of the biggest galleries in disc golf history. So if you're listening to this and you're coming to the GBO, let me just plead to you. After your rounds are done on Friday, celebrate, go to Radius, have a great day. Then Saturday, come out to Emporia Country Club and just take in the action, because you can get back home on Sunday.
Yeah, I was going to say, you'd be crazy to leave.
You're still there in time for Monday.
Yeah, you'd be crazy to leave. I don't care how you finished, what you did, how things did or didn't go. You'd be crazy to leave on Friday. Saturday not only has obviously the women's finals in the morning, the men's finals almost immediately after. We're going to be very tight on time actually to turn that around. It's about an hour. We're thinking about an hour, and then the Raz round, and then the block party. Awards and block party. Like, I don't know. You truly would be crazy to leave at any point before that all goes down.
Yeah, the block party is one of the most fun things that we do, and one of the reasons for that. And if you haven't been to the block party before, you might not know this, but if you're vending at the block party, and by the way, we sold out of vendor spots for the block party, all down Commercial, and even on some of the side streets. It's the first time we've done that. Wow. So we're stoked about that. There's going to be vendors out the wazoo.
Are the nuns going to be there with their tacos?
I'm hoping so, because that's the highlight of my week.
Those were delicious.
None better than those.
Hey-o. Yeah, because those were delicious. Last year, I was walking down the block party, and we had just had a really long day. We finished up with the awards podcast, and I was like, I just need something to eat. I'm like, oh, these look delicious. They were phenomenal.
Yeah. The nuns know what the deal is when it comes to tacos.
Yeah.
Maybe even heavenly.
They were heavenly.
Robert, for our audio listeners, is giving me 2 thumbs up.
Yeah. No, I wasn't. Anyway, that's what I do to Doug. He's the king of dad jokes around the office. So pretty much anytime he starts a joke, like you can tell it's coming, I just hit him with a thumbs down instantly. Lots of boos, lots of thumbs down.
Me.
Anyway, so at the block, yeah, that's me. I'm a meeting guy. At the block party, the only discs that you can sell are custom stamp discs. So there's not going to be any stock stuff. It's all going to be stuff that's either special to a company or an event, or special, like specific to GBO. I know a few examples of that. We've got some Ice Clear Lucid X EMAC Truths. They're, oh my goodness, they're incredible looking. And then I know Oakley has some Moonshine Lucid X Felons. On Friday, this coming Friday, hopefully we have some left. Well, I'm not sure if we want to have some left by then, but AJ Risley Waffle Hybrid Wardens are releasing this Friday. If there's any left, you can grab some from them.
Sound tasty.
Yeah, they're pretty awesome. But yeah, that's going on at the block party. If you miss the block party, man, like, just don't miss the block party. You're missing out on a big part of the GBO experience if you miss the block party.
And speaking of that, and I asked who on our board is going to be there. I'd love to hear more and more people tell us that they're going to be out there. Smashbox will have a very limited amount of custom stamped discs, and there might be a few Smashbox shirts that I'll pack along, and maybe even some Tear Bear Disc Golf Guy discs as well. As you said, everything's going to be custom, and it's a great chance to pick up a lot of really unique discs and stamps and logos and support mechanisms and all those different things that all the vendors are going to be putting out there.
Yeah, if I don't leave with a Smashbox or Tear Bear shirt, I'm rioting. I'm just telling you now.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You might literally leave with his shirt. I don't know, honestly.
Things get crazy in Emporia, let me tell you.
Hey, listen, when you're sitting in the same chair for 7 hours talking about disc golf, you lose it a little bit. Mm-hmm. Sometimes shirts are exchanged.
Yeah,
it's whatever.
I would love to see, and maybe Robert can arrange this, have maybe an FPO player swing by the booth for the afternoon, or maybe an MPO player swing by the booth in the morning just to chit-chat.
I think that'd be awesome.
Break it up a little bit. I think
I'm super interested.
Anything to get away from Terry. I know the feeling.
Aww.
All right, Robert. So now you have AJ next to you, for those that, again, are audio listeners. AJ's already in town. Are you guys going out and playing at all, or is he just in town practicing and kind of doing his own thing? Is there? I don't know if he can hear us or if we can address him at all in any capacity.
You want to answer this question real quick, AJ? Can you guys say it again?
Yeah. So AJ, hi, good to see you, buddy. Just curious, kind of what your plan is like. What are you doing right now? Are you just practicing? Are you relaxing? Are you playing anywhere this weekend that's competitive, or are you just kind of getting dialed in for the week?
Yeah, what'd you say, practicing, relaxing? Yeah, I'm praclaxing.
Yeah? Okay.
Are you just squatting in Robert's house? Is that kind of your...
Yeah, it happened last year, too. I told you.
If you don't have a guest key, that means you're not really welcome. I'm just throwing that out there.
Yeah. No, I mean, this is a lovely town. Emporia, Kansas has the best tap water in the United States.
Hey, but that's
true.
Don't knock it.
That is true.
So, I'm just trying to stay hydrated out here.
Will you answer the man's question? He asked if you're practicing.
Are you playing competitively this weekend, or are you just hanging out in Emporia?
Oh, okay. Yeah, I am not playing competitively. No sanctioned events this weekend. I'm going to take the next few days off from throwing a lot. Now I'm actually being serious. Okay.
Fine,
well, it's not really competitive when Robert whoops you.
Oh.
I stood him down.
Ouch.
I mean, we'll just leave that to the basketball hoop.
Oh.
Ball don't lie. But yeah, I mean, I'm taking a few days off, and then I'm gonna go out to the country club and dial in some lines. Sorry, Walter. Jeez.
Gosh, man.
Oh my
Get out of here.
Yeah. I mean, I've been playing the tournament every weekend since the Wintertime Open. So, and then this past week in Jonesboro, I got there on Monday, walked the course twice on Monday, played 2 practice rounds on Tuesday, 2 practice rounds on Wednesday.
Grinding.
Practice round on Thursday, a little gym sesh. And so a couple days off might not be bad.
Some rest, yeah.
And then also, I mean, the next I think it's the next 6 weeks after this in a row is, starting with GBO is going to be tournaments, a lot of driving and playing big courses too. So this few days off will be pretty nice.
Now, I know you've been obviously at this event for a number of years, but playing one course, one that you're already relatively familiar with, of course, there's some changes out there. Is that a little bit relaxing in itself? Just the one course to play, and you're somewhat familiar with it?
Yeah, definitely. I prefer the one course tournaments, events, I guess you could say. Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't really seen any videos or pictures. I haven't studied the changes yet for the country club, but I've heard that it's going to make the course a bit more difficult, and I'm all about that. For some reason I feel like I play better. I perform well on more difficult courses. Something about the extra strategy and thought and all that goes into coming up with the game plan kind of suits my mentality well.
Is that a polite way of saying you think you're smarter than everyone else out there?
I'll answer for him.
I don't know.
Okay. All right. So my last question for you, AJ, before we let you go.
I mean, I have a bachelor's degree, an arts degree, so there you go.
Yeah. So.
And I mean, it took I got.
And you're a disc golfer.
7 years, so
Yeah. Yeah.
Just shy of a decade too, huh?
just saying.
Okay. Yeah. So anyway,
Hey, the two of us are doing commentary.
Yeah.
Next
And
week too.
I honestly don't know when we're going to do that, to tell you the truth, because we're doing FPO, MPO, so we're going to have to figure something out.
what are you doing commentary for? Will your mics be plugged in, or what? What are you?
Joe has
Probably not,
MPO 2 is
Wow.
where
Right.
you'll find us partnered.
Yeah, no, it's actually live
Sheesh.
commentary. So just on the GBO app, there's a Don't shake your head. This is a real thing.
Uh-huh.
GBO app. Click on the 3 little bars, at the top left, and if you scroll all the way down, there's like a little box you can click, and you can sign up to get the address to this place, top secret, and you can come by and you can sit in the living room as Robert and I do live commentary. Space is limited. That's actually a really good idea.
Yeah, we would sell so many spaces.
We'd pay them.
Oh, yeah, we pay them to show up.
Yeah, that's
So, Pat, you had a real question.
yeah. So my last question for you is that a good hint? My last question for you is just 11 days ago to be specific. SmashBoxxTV celebrated our 5th anniversary of existence, and one of my favorite pictures of all time is of Todd, you, and me as we were calling the shots, and we were out there in Silmar doing what was truly the first ever broadcast for SmashBoxxTV. Did you see that come across your timeline? And is it crazy to think that was 5 years ago?
You were like 12 years old.
I know, yeah. I was 5 years ago. I was in my 5th year of college.
I was just gonna say. I was just.
And yeah, I mean, I remember it. I remember it well. And I saw the other Facebook memories from that day and the day before. I think I posted a couple things like, "Oh, I'm going to the airport to pick up the best commentator in disc golf right now," and then Ben Ferris posted a Facebook update. There's two like camera nerds or something in your living room when they're giggling about camera equipment or something. I don't know.
Pixels or resolution or whatever.
Now, to be fair, your 5th year of college is usually like your 2nd year of art school. So
something like that. I don't know. I'm here now. So.
Yeah.
It all worked out.
I was just going to say, so it all worked out. For sure.
not for Robert.
All right. I think those are all the questions we had for you, AJ.
That's right.
What?
I said, I think those were all the questions we had for you, AJ.
Oh. Wow. Okay. Later, dude.
Dude, I didn't choose this spot.
Whoa!
Thank you.
Oh no! Whatever, bro.
All right.
I get on this side too. You don't want none of this.
All right. Now, on a somewhat serious note, Robert, my question.
Bro, I'm disc golf strong. I'm all over the place.
He is very strong.
On a semi-serious note, Robert, I would like to know, like, what are your plans with your role with DD? Kind of, how does the rest of your year look? I mean, obviously, GBO is this massive undertaking. You're going to wear 4 or 5 different hats, which won't mess up your hair, but you're going to wear a number of hats, and then we still have a large portion of the season that remains. What are some of the things that you're looking forward to?
I'm playing a lot less this year than I did last year. I kind of went on a rampage to try and get to 1,000 rated just to prove Bobby wrong. So I played a lot of events last year, for me at least. So I've only played 1 this year. I bet I get in less than 10, but it's just going to be whenever I can. I'm playing an unsanctioned, invite-only tournament called King of the Canyons the weekend after GBO up at Delwood Disc Golf. One of my favorite places to play. Super cool. So I'm excited to just go out and play out there, and that's going to be fun. But other than that, I don't know what my next sanction event is going to be. We've got the disc golf experience at Coors Stadium in Denver. I don't know if I can say Coors Stadium legally, but it's where the Rockies play. So we're going to be at that. That's going to be awesome. That's, I think, at the end of June. I'm pretty sure. And then I'll be at Worlds, and then I'm sure I'll make an event or 2 between then and now, and otherwise, yeah, just hanging.
What about from a team or team manager perspective? Like, what are some of your roles or functions that we're gonna, where you're gonna be doing that kind of stuff?
Sorry, let me correct myself. It's at Mile High Stadium where the Broncos play, not the Rockies. I got my sports teams mixed up.
That's all right, buddy. I'm not smart enough to know.
Say your question again. I apologize.
Just in terms of your actual your role and your responsibilities in terms of being the position that you have at DD. Like, what are some of the things that we're going to see you doing?
Sure. Staying active on Disc Golf Answer Man every week, as per usual. And then some other media obligations. That's most of the stuff that you'll see. And then behind the scenes, just a lot of, recruiting and trying to plan for the future of our team with Dynamic Discs, along with Latitude 64 and Westside, the teams that we manage. That's what I'd say. That's probably the lion's share of my job at this point, is a lot of that calling and watching people and trying to figure out what we're going to do next. And then we're publishing a magazine called Chasing the Chains. No, that's not right. Physics of Flight. And that's going to start being available at GBO. And I do a lot of the editing in that. So that's it's a short-term thing, but it happens and I like it.
Huh.
That's cool.
Now, Physics of Flight, we've seen Danny doing a lot of video-related work with that. Did you guys just fire him, or what happened?
He's out.
Cool. Okay.
Sucks, man.
Yeah. Sorry, Danny. He gone.
No, we like the name for that, and we had done Chasing the Chains magazine this last year, and just said we wanted to do it on our own and just see how that goes, and so we're working on that right now. The GBO edition is, I'm pretty sure it's being printed right now, so we should have that soon. And one of the things that I enjoy doing, and this is probably something no one would really want to know about me, but I enjoy editing for grammar and content. I don't know why. I enjoy it. And it makes me upset when if I send something to somebody and it has a grammatical error or spelling, even if it's just like a mistype, I am furious. I'm not trying to have that. Huh. So I like to help out with stuff like that whenever I can.
Terry and I had a discussion, was it yesterday, about Further and Farther?
Yes.
And different. Terry was saying he was never taught the difference.
I never, I never had any.
And to be fair, I don't think I was. I know almost all the other ones I'm good with, borrow, lend, all that stuff. But you're right, Further, Farther, I don't believe it was ever.
It was never spelled out
curriculum
for me. It was never something I looked into or really even thought much about. And thankfully, as we've all learned, the internet, people are willing to help you.
Yeah, they
And
assist you a lot.
yes, they definitely assist you. And
Yeah.
and I will say, a gentleman reached out to me. I'm not going to call him out by name, but he did reach out to me, and he said he feels like everyone in disc golf gets further and farther incorrect. You use the wrong one, and then immediately I started second guessing myself because I'm like, I've never really thought much about the difference. And sure enough, I probably have used it wrong or incorrectly all of these years. And yeah, so I thank the internet for all of its amazing little corrections it wants to provide.
And as
Right.
the internet says, farther is more for physical distance.
Yep.
Further is more metaphorical or figurative.
Yes, so I'm going further back in time, or as
you can-
opposed to I throw farther than you.
Yeah, furthering an idea, something like that.
Right.
An easy way to remember that PSA for you Smashies out there. It's easy to say if you're a disc golfer. It's easy to think of it as, do you say I throw far or I throw fur? If you throw far, then you would say farther. That's straight up distance, ideas, and metaphors, things like that for you.
There you go. I like that one. That's a good one. And as being reminded on the board, I think it was just last week when I said all of us, every one of us at some time or another is either mildly or largely guilty of saying the word absolutely too many times. And
I disagree.
you disagree with that. Yeah, I bet you do. And it's all these little things that we pick up that are just so easy to do. Some of which, like you said, it can be either grammatically incorrect or just little hiccups or tendencies, and we all have them. I've got plenty of them.
That was something, since we talked about the Masters earlier, that was something I noticed while watching the Masters is, okay, so we do commentary, and there are people who do it professionally, as in, like, you guys make content. You are a professional commentator, a professional production company, right? But in golf and in sports, there are people who go to school only to do that. And it was just kind of refreshing to me in some parts when I watched the commentary at the Masters that they're not perfect. You know, they say stuff every once in a while that's like, I probably wouldn't have said that, or that doesn't make sense for this situation. They misspeak just a little. And it just, for all the people online who nitpick every single thing, there is no one who is perfect at it, even if we're less perfect than they are. Still, it was a little refreshing to me to see people sometimes struggle with talking just a bit.
Yes.
And it made me feel good that someone sent a picture to me of, and I don't know if it was the online portion of the Masters or the CBS broadcast, where it looked like somebody in their camera had accidentally brought up their the 3x3 picture of all the different shots that they had recorded.
Right.
And so someone snapped it and sent it, said, even the Masters has issues at times. And I'm like, yeah, I'm sure it's, yeah.
What do you think about the rule? And I know we're kind of backtracking a little, but what do you think about the rule at the Masters about not having cell phones or those being allowed there on site or on the grounds, or I think even during the practice rounds, if I recall? What do you think about that rule?
I love it. Get them out. Look, as someone who I enjoy my phone probably more than most people. I have it on me all the time, and it's part of my job. But also, I don't know. I'm attached to my phone quite a bit. But in a situation like that, especially like we talked about with the history and kind of the hallowed grounds, the last thing that you would ever want, say it's this year, Tiger's getting ready to tee on the 18th, one of the most important shots of his career, and somebody's phone goes off and it goes in the woods. Come on, man. I can't imagine more of a nightmare scenario for something like that. So maybe they do go overboard in removing all distractions, but they do it effectively, and I applaud them for it.
Well, and then the question is there, a bigger picture to that about being more present, being in the moment, having those memories, those types of things. Obviously, there's the distraction and the technology side, but then there's also, maybe a little more altruistic, concept to that, or over-scoping feeling to it. Yeah, it's interesting to see, and it was really funny because I feel like that was a popular question asked of the players, at least in some of the pre-tournament interviews that I listened to, and every one of them just said, "Oh, it was great," and then some of them said, "It was, I like phones, I like technology, blah blah blah." They said the same thing, but then would go on to say, "Yeah, it's just great. It's great, not having them out there at all." So,
and it's probably something we could never do in disc golf.
No,
Yeah.
no. I mean, we don't have that control. You know, we don't have paying too many. We don't have usually-
Patrons. You have to literally
patrons.
you cannot use the word spectators when you're speaking about the people at the Masters. It is a rule for the commentators that they have to use the term patrons, and you will get scolded and probably not asked back as a commentator if you use the term spectator. I read an entire article about one or two of the old commentators, one of which who actually referred to some of the mounds as they looked like they were like a body was buried there based on the thing, and he was never asked back because of that. And you have to,
man, I would last like 10 seconds.
Not
at
even,
that tournament.
not even. They would get you in the pre-show, and they would just laugh you, and they would shake you out. And they obviously there are specific flowers and things you have to refer to. They are very strict about that particular event.
Right. And that's part of what makes it special, right? I mean, that's what's so cool about it. And like you said, Terry, let's say, even if, disregard the distraction part. Let's assume everyone's phone was on silent or something like that. But to think that you're walking on Augusta National, probably one of the most beautiful places on planet Earth, or at least one of the most well taken care of ones. And to think that your eyes might not be attentive to what's going on, they're doing you a service, really.
Yeah.
And I think, if I was there, I mean, that would be a no hassle. I will drop my phone in here immediately and enjoy the day without it.
That kind of brings me to something I posted on Facebook today, and I believe it or not, it's actually somewhat relevant and attached to this. I had made the question because it was asked of me. Well, let me just read the rule. All right, this is in our PDGA Q&A, and it says, can video or other media be used as evidence to make a rules call? And then the answer to that, and I'm reading this straight from the PDGA Q&A section, it says PDGA policy is that video evidence can only be used to document a player misconduct as defined under section 3.03, blah, blah, blah. Evidence of player misconduct may be evaluated at any time by the PDGA disciplinary committee. No other use of video or other media is allowed for the purpose of making rulings during tournament play. So here's my question, and this is kind of how it was posed to me. A gentleman was filming this weekend, and they couldn't locate the disc. He was filming a card that they were having a hard time locating the disc, and at one point it was kind of asked or suggested or requested, like, oh, hey, can you just look on your camera, see where it went? And this gentleman's relatively new to PDGA filming. He was filming a separate event, not one I was involved with at all, and he's like, I don't think I can. I don't know, but I don't think I can. So I guess my question to you is, and I posed it to Facebook, is even reviewing that, A, can he review it and then maybe relay the information? B, do you feel like it's okay if the group members just look over his shoulder at this video? And C, is that making a ruling at that point? Has a ruling even been made for where this disc is going or had maybe gone?
Sure. I hadn't thought about that particular circumstance before, so I'm just kind of shooting from the hip.
Mm-hmm.
I would have no problem with them using the footage to try and find where the disc went, because the only rule that's at play is the lost disc rule, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all right, so let's say, because the argument against that would be, all right, so that's going to benefit players on the top card more if they're being filmed, right? Just like it hurts televised players on golf when they call in with the penalties, which is the most asinine rule ever. But anyway,
okay. Yeah.
I would say it wouldn't be a problem because, all right, say your buddy is caddying for you and he films one of your shots. Are you going to tell that guy who's not an official, photographer for the event that you can't use that? I don't think so.
That's a very good angle, so to speak. That, you're out there as the team manager, and you're watching Paige Bjerkes, and maybe you filmed in an Innova thrower throwing this beautiful tee shot because the lighting and everything was great, and you're like, oh, I'm going to capture this. They end up throwing it into the shul, because it's not DD, right? No, I'm just kidding. But they throw into the shul, and then you're like, oh yeah, I captured that, and then you could either share it with the card members or that particular thrower, and you're not there in a media capacity, but you happen to take a video. So that's a really interesting point.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things to correct about that. You know, if it was one of not our team members, I would just delete the footage immediately
Yeah.
and say nothing. I'm just kidding, guys. Come on. I'm just joking. And no, I think there is something to be said for like when spectators try and get involved in where a disc went out of bounds, that always kind of muddies the waters. So if it was me and I was following that card and I was videoing someone for Instagram or something, I would probably talk to the person that I knew about it. So like the example when we were talking about how the dynamic disc manager came up. Oh, by the way, my official title is team director over Dynamic Disc Latitude 64 Westside Disc. For all those who are concerned or confused, team director, that's my title.
/ company owner. Yep.
/ overall company manager. So if I'm videoing Paige Bjerkes and her shot goes into the woods and on the card are 3 non-DD sponsored players, I'm probably not going to say to the group at large, hey guys, I have this video footage, here's where it went, because some players just aren't trying to hear that. And, you know, some aren't trying to help with an out of bounds shot. But I would say to Paige, I think it went over here because I'm not helping to make a ruling because there's not an infraction made yet. She's just thrown a shot. Now, if it's past the 3 minutes and then I was like, oh yeah, here's some video, then the ruling had already been made. It wouldn't help at all. So in my opinion, I say if there's somebody videoing, whether by cell phone or by camera, reviewing it to find a shot, I would have no problem with. I don't love reviewing it for foot faults or anything like that. I think
Mandos was another example because that has happened to me once. Someone turned to me and said, hey, did that shot go in front or behind the Mando?
No.
And
sorry.
I was like, yeah, that to me was an actual call. That was an immediate rules, bearing infraction or decision. And that one I was not, necessarily comfortable with.
No, and nor should you have been. That's not your job. You're there to capture the play, not to comment on it, right? Well, you comment on it, but as a videographer,
yeah.
Right? And I think the same goes for like it was Memorial. I guess it was last year. Ricky had that foot fault on hole 11 at Vista that everyone flipped out about. Oh, it's a foot fault. Why didn't you call it? You weren't standing there and you're not on the card. That's not what this is for. You are taking a snapshot of what's happening. You are not commenting on what's happening. And if you weren't on the card and it's not it's written in the rules, it's either called then or it might as well have not happened. Sorry. So using it for, to call foot faults and that sort of stuff, forget it. To try and find a disc, I'd be good with it.
Okay. Well, it was an interesting scenario for that, somewhat newer video person. And I've had a lot of different situations. And I think back to even just Throw Down the Mountain a few weeks ago, I was covering the FPO on the final round on Sunday morning. Someone had thrown an errant shot that leaked off to the left side. There's a lot of sawgrass and tall bushes and whatnot on the left side of hole 4 it was. And I'm like looking at it like, oh, I think it, went past this spot. And, that became a question of, oh, can we look at it or not? And, just to help locate it. So,
right.
And there's a lot of conversation, that resulted of, well, is that fair? Is it fair because there's only one card that's being covered? So why should they have an advantage? And I said, that doesn't mean there's an advantage. You can't assume that just because that there's a camera on the card that's going to advantage a player. That could just as easily disadvantage a player. Maybe 3 guys are ready to give somebody a particular spot or a call, and then all of a sudden you review the footage and you're like, oh, no, you never crossed that spot. You belong way back here. So it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to be an advantage either.
Right.
So,
good. Yeah, I'm good with the player conduct side of it. That makes sense because there's no hiding that. There's no debate. You just get to see it as it happened. But when it comes to making those calls, use it to find a disc. Don't use it to punish a player. Sorry.
And there's been some interesting scenarios that we've talked about throughout the years, too, of once or twice, at least twice, maybe even 3 or 4 times now in my recording, I've noticed scoring error. something was recorded as a 4 because they forgot a penalty, or it just got written down as a 4, and I'm racking my brain because usually I'm 3 or 4 hours into editing and my scorecard's not adding up. It's not reflecting what's their permanent, their total score, and I'm going back and I'm like, oh my gosh, something happened here. That has come to light, I think, at the Memorial a couple years ago too. So it's all part of, I don't know if it's still growing pains, but something we're all kind of sifting through as we continue to grow.
Yeah, speaking of scoring, I think we need to get to a point where there's not just one scorecard, where there's tournaments that do this, and I think this is the way to do it. You keep yours and you keep another person's, and then you can compare. I think that's unequivocally the best way to do it. Or everybody keeps everybody's. It takes a little bit longer, but then there's no pencil whipping. Sorry, you're not going to get away with it. There's going to be no discrepancies. If 3 people have a 5 and one person has a 4, everybody will remember writing that down, and so it shouldn't be too hard to track back to. So it would take some extra time, but I think it would legitimize things a lot, and you wouldn't have so many cases of people saying, well, but I got this, but he wrote this down. I think that'd be a great way to do it.
I think we're getting closer to that. And I'll, great case in point, just a few weeks ago at Throw Down the Mountain, it was exactly that. Everyone has their own, had a scorecard. Everyone's writing down the score, and then, they turn in one official scorecard at the end. And I know the USDGC has been doing that for a number of years, and some of our really big events do that. And I think you're right. We may see that more. Or will we see it less as we rely on UDisc?
Yeah, I mean, UDisc is obviously changing the way that we think about disc golf and scoring. And so I I would love to see more of that stuff. You'd have to be careful about people who are just not super smartphone literate, just in case they hit a button or two incorrectly. But yeah, I think it's going to help out quite a bit. I like those guys too. I can't say enough good things about Matt and Josh. They're so great, man.
Oh, I only like Daniel. Just kidding. I love them all. All right, Robert. Yeah, any parting shots, anything else before we let you go here tonight? Thanks. I'll first say thank you for joining us last moment, but anything you want to say to everybody?
Sure thing. Just excited for everyone to be here for GBO. It's like we always say, we've been to a lot of GBOs. I've probably been to 4 or 5 now. There are people who have been to a lot more and who have run a lot more. And so for us, we get excited about it because it's our big thing, but we want to take extra caution to make sure that everything is as it should be, because this may be your first time coming to the GBO, and GBO for a lot of people is like their Disneyland. It's like your vacation. A lot of people take their vacation days to come to this tournament for the whole week. And so want you guys who are coming to know that we are 100% stoked that you're going to be here. We've taken a lot of measures of preparation to make sure that you have the best event that you can. And we're excited to roll them out to you this next week.
All right. Well, we're looking forward to it. Johnny V and I hopping in a car, making that drive.
I'm very upset that I looked through the GBO app. And
y'all are driving?
What?
Y'all are driving?
Yeah, we drive down every year.
Yeah.
How far is it?
9-ish, 9
9 hours.
That's doable.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise
it sucks, but
otherwise you gotta go to the airport and then fly into Kansas City and then get a rental car and still have an hour and a half to 2 hours from there. Yeah. It's like, let's just burn through this thing.
Yeah, no, I'm with Terry for this one, but I was just saying I was looking through the GBO app and I was disappointed that I didn't see a video game competition this year. There's nothing.
That was so awesome.
There's nothing for me to win. I'm sad.
Darn it, man. Because we know you can't win a disc golf.
No, I can't.
No,
not right now. Not right now. You could probably beat me left-handed right now.
I might be the highest rated lefty in the world after Zach Melton. We'll see.
I bet you are.
I was disappointed I didn't see your address in the app after AJ promised it was there.
Yeah, well, we're in the beta version right now, so when we come out with the full app, it'll be in there, and everyone can just come hang out with me and Walter and Shay, and yeah, AJ will be sometimes. My parents are coming this week. I'm stoked about that.
That's awesome. What are they going to be doing?
Just hanging out, just seeing how the tournament is, and yeah, because they've visited Emporia once, but certainly not during GBO time. And Emporia is a totally different place during GBO. Everywhere rolls out the red carpet, so they're excited to just come be a part of the atmosphere.
I was gonna say they're gonna come there for the week, but not even see you hardly.
They will not see me very much. No, Shay's being extremely hospitable, as she's been known to do from time to time, and taking a day off of work so that she can hang with them, and that'll be pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, we're excited. You're right. Dynamic Disc and all of Emporia always rolls out the red carpet for all the disc golfers, and we're excited to be part of it, and just truly honored to be part of it because it's so much fun, and it is. That's a great way to put it. It's our disc golf for Disneyland, and it's gonna be better than the Disneyland or Disney World I was just at. I guarantee you that.
That's right. We don't have roller coasters, but we do have some Tour Series discs, and we've got a Razz Round, and they don't have one of those at Disney. So shut up, Disney.
Yeah, and you got a princess to your left. Okay, so on that note, we appreciate it. Thank you for joining us tonight, and looking forward to seeing you in a few days.
Yeah, we'll see you guys later. Thanks for having me on.
Thanks, Robert.
Thank you. Thanks for being here, Robert, and Robert only. So with that,
I'm sure Robert enjoyed being on one of the best disc golf podcasts on the internet. So
yes.
it's, right now he's still on Skype. You guys can't see him, but he's just shaking his head yes. And
what do they call those? Life goals?
Life goals. We let him on about once a year. Any more than that.
On a serious note, thank you so much to both Robert and AJ Risley for stepping in and joining us for a little while. Going to be a media blitz, as always, over at the GBO next week.
I'm going to spend so much money there. It's not funny. There's going to be a lot of tour discs I'm coming back with because I don't have to fly. So I'll probably, I definitely want one of those Lucid EMAC Truths. I'm going to get I'm going to get a waffle one, I guess.
I'm not.
Yeah, and they're cheering in the background still. So I'm excited. The one thing that always disappoints me about GBO is that I can never get into Radius because by the time we're done, we get there and there's like a 2-hour wait unless you go at the very end of the night and then they're like, cool, you can come in and have some drinks. It's great, but we close the kitchen. And I'm like, oh.
You know what I think we need, they should implement this year is maybe a
SmashBox table?
Yeah, media VIP pass.
Why not just cordon off like a quarter of the thing for us? Quarter of the store. and we're because Radius is
and all
fantastic.
Of our largest Patreon supporters can then are also guaranteed a seat.
Good call.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I got some ideas.
You do got great ideas,
not gonna mind.
No, Radius is awesome. Like the food is delicious. They got a ton of beer selection, which does nothing for me personally, but I know a lot of people really enjoy that. They've got mixed drinks as well for me, but ultimately, it's hard to get in there during GBO week because they're always packed.
Yeah, they are. And we saw them do a collaboration last year with Nate and Val. I think there might be a collaboration brew again that's happening this year. I don't know if Nate and Val are going to physically be there, but I think there was some collaboration that was done again.
Awesome.
Possibly. But sounds like that. And Robert also had just posted on our board a moment ago. I finally made it on a real disc golf podcast. So super glad to have him.
We're super glad to always have him.
All right. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit. Of course, there was a lot of chatter this last weekend, and I had the experience of, I mentioned it earlier, I had the experience of being really just
it's weird having Robert just watch me on my big TV here. I've got him on the monitor. For those of you that I did a quick tour of the studio this weekend, and I put it out there. And so this big TV now, I just have this Robert staring at me. He left now. So, but he's back.
So what I was saying is this weekend, the little bit of downtime I had, I was actually able to consume some of the broadcast, which is obviously something I'm not used to being able to do because I'm usually involved. And I wasn't this weekend. And I think it's fair to say there were a few hiccups or a few challenges. And I feel like one of the first ones that was out there is we saw this shift over to a new platform.
Do we just want to walk through it?
Yeah, I think it's fair that our viewers... that have come to expect and or know, kind of behind the scenes or at least what's been going on, where we're at and things that we can address, things that we can improve on, things that we think we nailed, or I feel like an update is
Sure. Updates do. Media, this is, if you're not interested in Smashbox Media update, this is when you can probably tune out for the next 20 minutes. Or longer. We'll see. So, or just go out on Reddit, where I've been going back and forth with people. Some smart, some not. First, the DGP.TV.
Okay.
Friday morning, we have the FPO. We're broadcasting.
Mm-hmm.
It's going pretty good. And at about, I believe it was hole 9 or 10, kaboom. The website crashes. Now, I had talked to Steve, and I talked to you earlier. I said, hey, Steve, make sure we get this because we're going to expect a lot of traffic on the website. And he's like, oh, Johnny, that's great. Good idea. I'll talk to GoDaddy. GoDaddy is the provider that hosts the website.
Did he talk to Danica?
He did not talk directly to Danica. I think he asked.
I feel like she'd have all the answers.
Well, she's dating Aaron Rodgers, so clearly
Smart woman.
Smart woman. And Steve said, okay, cool. I talked to them. They bumped us up. We should be set based on the numbers that we've given them. Like, okay, cool. I worried much less about that. And then it had still crashed. So Steve, because I was busy doing the switching, talked to GoDaddy and said, oh, hey, GoDaddy needs to upgrade our service to this other thing, which they've bumped us up. Basically, we had so many people come in, and I don't know what that number is because we don't see it on YouTube and I don't have access to the analytics, that it basically spiked the CPU on the server they were using and brought it down. Okay. But they fixed it, whatever. MPO comes, same thing happens. Even after they bumped
everything
it up.
started out okay.
Yes.
And that at a certain point, due to traffic and users that were coming to it.
As we always see with live events, they start out at one number and they build up towards the end of the round.
Okay.
And it crashed again. And so then Steve says, okay, cool. GoDaddy still hasn't given us a thing. They want to migrate us to an entirely new server farm or system, and it's going to require some downtime, like 1 to 4 hours. So Steve had, discussion with some of the guys over that we're working with for the ad insertion stuff and all this other stuff, and basically said, you need to get it off of GoDaddy. There's no GoDaddy. They are an okay registrar of your website, but as far as hosting and what we're trying to do, it's not the right platform. We need to go to a specific CDN, and they recommended, thankfully, Amazon, AWS. So I believe that change was made, I think it was after the FPO day 2 that it had to get done at that point or something, somewhere on those. I wasn't involved in it at all. So thankfully, after that, the website was very solid, very stable. Once Steve built this new computer system and basically allows it to dynamically expand with the amount of people that we get, the amount of traffic that comes in. So that was like hiccup number 1. And I can forgive people. I can understand people being upset about that because it does seem like a silly mistake to make. And you're like, well, we thought of it and we still couldn't get over that hump.
Maybe underestimated.
It was either underestimated or, for all I know, GoDaddy, who, ultimately they want your business. They're going to tell you what you probably want to hear to keep you as a customer.
Sure.
Now, and ultimately it had to be moved.
And that was some of my experience when I think it was Friday morning. I was getting ready. I was going to go out to the course, and I had tried to pull it up on I think it was on my computer still at the time before I left the hotel. And I got an error, and it was interesting because it was like a 527 error. It was not a typical like, oh, your internet doesn't work error. It was an error saying, hey, there's something wrong, but it's not, it's more than just a generic error. And I found out at some point, and then I wasn't alone in receiving that error. And that was kind of my initial, I'll say my first impression. And then it was a matter of a few refreshes later or something that I ultimately was in, and I was able to watch the stream. So the stream in this case was a completely separate, different challenge than the actual.
The stream, so to speak, solid all weekend.
Okay.
Like the live stream, the live broadcast was, from what I understand, what people had told me when they saw it, it looked great. As good as it has ever looked.
Okay.
So I felt really good about that. It was literally things beyond my personal control that we couldn't do it. And ultimately, again, Steve was very responsive and he did everything in his power to fix it. And I completely understand that people are sick of and they don't want to hear excuses. They want results.
Mm-hmm.
And as I wrote this very long couple paragraph thing saying, we are always going to have issues. Always. Whether it's one thing. If we're not having issues, it's because we've settled into something. Like, once we get something perfected, there will be another issue when we try something else new. It just, that's the way it works. It's a lot of times it's a break-fix environment. You can do testing, and then ultimately, when it comes down to, whatever, things happen. And there are plenty of times we've improved and we've never had an issue. But there are plenty of times we've tried to change things and we run into an issue. But people don't see the things that when you improve upon them, they just oh, cool, that's something new. They don't realize all the work that went behind it and the fact that it did go smoothly. They see when we try something new and it goes, and they're like, hey, what the hell? So
this was or was not related, because one of the other big changes and adjustments that ultimately was made was that, that's what people were getting, like myself, were getting from a browser side. What did we find out, or what do we know about the Roku side of things, or the application, or the way that people can either access it or not? What does that mean for those people?
That I'm honestly not sure about.
Okay.
I know Steve is working. He actually emailed me today asking if I'd like to participate in building some of the other platforms, the Apple TV, the Android, the thing like that. And I just said, I just don't have the time, unfortunately. As much as I love to dig into a lot of that stuff, and I think it's really cool, it's just not, it's not in my wheelhouse right now, and I think it would take me a while to ramp up to something like that. But I have so many other things going on with like GBO coming up and all this. Like, I've got like a week's blocked off, and so I just can't dedicate the time, and I don't want to be the result of things getting pushed back, ultimately. I mean, we have a month before San Francisco, and I'm already booked up at least a week and a half to 2 weeks, plus with a possible acquisition coming up for my company. It's just not realistic for me to dedicate any time to it. But ultimately, I know they are looking into it for other platforms. Now, the way it works is, again, I send out the signal to a company. That company, you hear like a beep, commercial gets inserted, you hear another beep, commercials stop. Some people are saying that they saw commercials repeated. They saw, maybe they heard the beeps, maybe they, and that could, there's a lot of things to work out. What I did talk to the ad insertion guys about is that we're getting rid of the beeps.
Aww.
I know. So that there should be a way to send a signal silently, a programmatically signal, like a web call, basically, that tells it, hey, now's the time to play an ad. And so we won't hopefully hear or see those beeps come up. But it should insert an ad. So some people saw an ad. Someone was saying that they had it on 2 devices, saw 2 different ads, which is what it's supposed to do. It's supposed to feed up different ads based on what they bid. And there's a whole thing on the Disc Golf Pro Tour about how you can get your ads on there. Go read it. Go check it out. If you're a company, disc golf company, if you're a just even a club that wants to promote your club, I mean, ultimately you just have to submit X amount for how many views, and there's a whole formula. You can go out there and get your ads played. I don't have any input on any of that, thankfully. But taking it off of YouTube obviously had its, well, let's go this way. I think it was it Friday afternoon or Saturday? It must have been Friday afternoon that halfway through the men's round, we had to, because the website just kept crashing, people couldn't get in. We had to split it, and we opened it up to YouTube. We put it on the SmashBoxx page, and what that helped do was filter off some of the traffic from the website to YouTube. And after that, I heard things like, "Oh no, the website's working great now." Well, because we split
some of the traffic
we split the traffic,
diverted, yeah,
and so it released some of the processing power on the website. And obviously, like I said, we didn't need to do that after that, even though I secretly did push it to YouTube just in case anything happened. So I could literally flip a switch and say, hey guys, it's over here now.
Sure.
It's just something that it was a backup plan for me, basically.
And speaking to your point, I'll be one of those people that said there were times I heard the beeps as I was, again, mine was obviously never through a Roku player in any way. At one point I had a little bit playing on my phone, and at one point I had it on a regular Chrome browser. And sometimes I heard beeps and sometimes I didn't. And I remember asking you, and I know those are triggers that you don't personally hear or are aware of. To me, that inconsistency was just really what confused me, is why am I hearing it sometimes? Why am I not? And that might be a question that I have to directly, or we have to directly ask Steve about, and hopefully we can get it all situated with this company as to why, or as you just maybe, said, it's been addressed. But it was interesting to me that sometimes I heard them and sometimes I didn't. And I think by even the response out on our wall right now, people are saying, some people heard them, some didn't. And another frustration point that I think was at least brought to me, some people were saying everything looked good, it would go away to commercial, and upon coming back it wouldn't either like reconnect, or there would be some kind of a lag that was there, or they would have to basically refresh their browser in order for it to work again.
Sure.
And I've received a few of those descriptions or questions or whatever you want to call them. And I can imagine that being very frustrating from a viewer's experience.
100%. And again, there's the big argument like, well, why'd you take it off YouTube in the first place and this and that? And I think we've discussed that. You have more control over the entire experience when you host it yourself, but that's going to come with some hurdles. And I hope we can get through those, relatively quickly. I've told Steve, and I've told this Jeff gentleman that I work with. I said, hey, I'm here to test. Whenever you need, just let me know. We can schedule it. I'm good. Wednesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. Usually, we can make this work and we can make it happen. The other huge complaint was the volume of the ads.
Yeah,
that it was blaring.
Yeah.
Now,
I only have one good ear, and that was almost blown out as well.
And let me explain why that was, and hopefully how we're going to work on fixing it. So whomever sent those videos to the ad company, so whatever company dealt with buying the ads, probably leveled those volumes at what's known as zero decibels, basically. And one of the things that I've learned from years of doing this broadcast, because we had that problem early on, like, our commercials were always too loud. So I went through, and every commercial we got, I re-encoded at a specific level, -12 dB, which is much quieter. On top of that, I add a compression to the audio, which more or less takes the highs and the lows and squeezes them, just like it sounds. Compression, so that you don't get, when Terry decides he wants to get really excited about an ace and blow out everyone's speakers, it'll sound louder, but it won't pop as much. It really pushes it down.
Like my compression shorts.
Like your Spanx.
Yeah.
And so, unfortunately, I don't have control over those third-party ads because I'm sending the signal, and then they're getting thrown in after it gets to me. So what I started to do is push up the volume on everything else. I thought, well, if those are loud and I can push everything else up, maybe it'll kind of even out for our viewers. Unfortunately, when we did that, these little green bars that I see started hitting red and peaking on my side, which made Nate and Val's audio sound cruddy because it was getting a little robotic, and it was chopping it off at the top end. And so ultimately I couldn't make it work with the volume of the ads. Now I'm hoping what we can do is figure it out and just say, hey guys, you can use these same commercials. Let's just re-encode them so they're quieter. And I think that is something that we overlooked, and something I never even thought about the secondary ad assertion.
Yeah, I mean, those are, like you said, those are something that are being served up, and you're not pressing a button to necessarily
I'm just signaling
those.
it to start, and then they're throwing it in there, and
therefore
ultimately super loud.
And to follow that up, as again, even happening on our chat right now, which is kind of ironic, One of the disadvantages that we've experienced when we're not using the YouTube platform in this case is that we really don't have some of that instantaneous feedback.
Mhm.
When something may not be going perfectly or going smoothly, with the YouTube chat board, just like on our show, just like any other time we've been live, we can kind of get that instant feedback. Hey, this is lagging, or something's not in sync, or there's some challenge that's happening that the viewers are seeing at home. But with that not being there and being available, we kind of have lost, at least momentarily, that instant connection and that instant feedback.
And
it's funny how much we miss it when you really think about how much you need it to some degree. I mean, sometimes the chat boards can get a little out of hand and a little crazy and whatever, but sometimes they're just so invaluable because they're giving us a few adjustments
Mhm.
and notifications that we are quite timely.
Correct, because it might take. Usually, I'll get a message from Dynamite, maybe from Dixon, sometimes from Matt or Josh from UDisc, but I don't. They're not always as fast as our chat board is to notify me of, hey, guess what? This is bad. Please change this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is an instance where no matter what, I couldn't have fixed that particular instance. But in general, there are times when I could be like, oh yeah, click, cool, thanks guys, I really appreciate that. For instance, I think it was on Sunday, the audio and video was out of sync at one point. It was like a second or two behind. And somebody eventually at some
Why
point
did you
like,
do it that way?
hey, how come the audio's out of sync? It's been this way for, like 5 or 10 minutes. And I was like, I didn't know. So
Sure.
all I did literally was just hit the little red stream button, kind of like what we did with Robert here when we had to do something, stopped it, started it. And whatever that did, it kicked it into gear and just synced it back up. And some people had to refresh their browser after that or their Roku. And I only did it once, so it was just one time on Sunday. And then everyone was like, oh, cool, John, much better, thanks. It's things like that, but I probably could have known sooner if that was the case.
Yeah.
And that's part of a good thing about the instant feedback. And I understand that there are clearly disadvantages to YouTube chat because we do get some things that when the YouTube chat is tied to the video. So when someone goes and watches it, sometimes they can see that chat, depending on how you set it up. We may not want that because there can be a ton of negativity in there. And do you really want that associated with your video? Just like comments. You can turn comments off too. And you can turn chat off, or you can, have it on. So I get it. There is a negative to having the chat. I like having a chat. It doesn't necessarily have to be the YouTube chat. A lot of times what a lot of us will be in is, I think it's chat.udisclive.com. And you can, when you're on UDisc site, there's a little link at the top. You can come in there, and usually there's a few of us chatting about, what's going on. And more other people than me, because I'm usually doing this, but I do keep it open now, and I'll peek at it once in a while to make sure everything is going as smoothly as we want.
Yeah, and those are, again, I think we're going to see solutions as we kind of, you mentioned it earlier, for every step forward we take, we may run into a new obstacle. There may be a new challenge on the horizon, and some of it's, you just have to get there and experience it, and then hopefully it's just a matter of we can address it quickly and jump through that hoop or get over that hurdle or obstacle and then move on and then make the improvement and move on from there. Unfortunately, there's been some of this very slowed the momentum has slowed to a crawl and maybe even got kicked while it was crawling, and trying to build itself back up is exactly where we're at. And a lot of our viewers and enthusiasts are just anxiously waiting for that home run, or they're waiting for that, that solid base hit or that triple.
Yeah.
And right now, it just feels like there's a lot of a lot of the guys
our wheels are spinning in mud sometimes.
Yeah.
It feels like. Now, let's talk about post-production.
Oh, it got way better there, right?
No, it didn't.
Oh.
So I've got my system all set up, and we've done smash cuts in the past, which usually is just and so I'll lay it out. Steve asked me a couple days before. He said, "Hey Johnny, can you do smash cuts for Jonesboro?" Because with the new change in the post-production stuff, there was nobody to do any edits for Jonesboro. So
Okay.
because the media teams that are invited back have not, they were already scheduled for those weekends. So there's nobody there. So I said, "Yeah, Steve, I can do that." And he says, hey, can you do it without commentary? Which I can do. I've done it in the past. I said, yeah, no problem. I knew it would be a busy day of doing broadcast and then chop up the FPO and then broadcast, then chop up the MPO. I mean, you're looking at 7 a.m. to probably 9 p.m. every day. No big deal. I'll bust my butt for a weekend and we'll get it done and take one for the team. I don't care. Well, with a lot of the new stuff that we did with the 4 cameras, with the recording at 1080p 60, which is what the cameras are coming in at, with instant replay trying to run, that first MPO day, I think my computer chugged. Like the software that we're using couldn't handle all of it. The computer itself, I think, was fine because Gary and I were watching processing and stuff. But ultimately, the card in there that's in charge of recording, the NVIDIA RTX 2070, can solidly record 2 streams. And if you want one that records more, it's like $5,000 or $7,000 to record one for an NVIDIA card that does other things. I think it's called like the Quadro, depending on what you want. Well, I didn't know that when I recorded it, clearly. And the FPO, so the FPO had a bunch of stutter to it. And I told Steve, I said, this is garbage. Like, I don't know what's going on. So Gary and I made some changes. MPO was a little better. I rendered it out. I sent it to Steve. Steve had the guys commentate on it and sent it back to me. I spot checked it. I was like, cool. I literally checked it like 3 places real quickly. I said, looks good. The audio is in sync. What I didn't check was like the first 20 seconds or 30 seconds of it, where hole 1 was really sped up and then slowed down, then really sped up and dropping frames. And I pushed it out there. And what I didn't do either is I knew the audio was off as far as volume. Valberg was way louder than Yuli. And I told it to Steve. I said, hey, Steve, just so you know, like this is that way. And Steve's like, ooh, that's not good. We should change that. I said, well, I've already uploaded it, but we can upload a new one. Well, let's just get it out there because we want next day coverage. Seems to be very important to people. They get upset when there's not next day coverage. And I'll make sure we put it out there and we'll replace it. And the tidal wave came and people were not happy. People did not like that. People didn't like that the video was choppy in places. It dropped frames. It sped up. It slowed down. And on top of all of that, the audio was bad. And I will take 100% blame for that. That is 100% on me. So I said, cool. All right. Well, I took it down at some point. The FPO, we changed things up the next day. And it went a lot smoother. The FPO footage was much smoother. The problem was MPO got canceled that day. So the next day, MPO are teeing off the same time as FPO. Because we don't have any of those post-production crews to roll around, we have to make a choice. Do we record MPO or do we record FPO? And live was priority. So we did live FPO like we were scheduled to.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why there is no post-production for MPO2 because there wasn't cameras on them. We had one roaming camera that was there to catch extra stuff to fill in for the FPO because with two of these courses on, or 2 of these groups on the course, we wanted to show a little bit of it, and we did. Not a lot, but a little bit. So I was able to get the FPO footage out. Unfortunately, day 3, we do the same thing for FPO. Things work out great. And we start basically cutting the FPO footage in between rounds. Gary does his thing and leaves. And the computer that we were using, it's not the newest computer, so it was taking a very long time. And we wanted then the MPO. Like, cool, let's get the MPO footage. Unfortunately, the computer was like still in the mid-process of doing what it was doing literally 2.5 hours later. So we used the backup computer that we have here, and it gave us cruddy quality MPO coverage for the post-production. It was a similar issue in that the quality wasn't that good. So what I said is like, hey, here's what I can do for MPO. It's processing on YouTube. The YouTube was pretty smooth. The secret YouTube thing I backed up. I can download it. I can cut that up. There won't be on-course audio because it's one feed. So you get the commentator and the on-course audio all mixed together. But I can take out all that audio, give it to Steve, and say, hey, let your guys commentate on that. The commentators he had lined up for MPO weren't able to do it the next day, which is that Monday when they're scheduled to. So Steve had just said, you know what? Rather than try to chase commentators down, which Terry loves to talk about, let's just put up your secret YouTube feed, which includes all the beeps, the same 2 commercials, which I use as filler commercials after every set of drives. And so I did. I said, hey, there's not going to be MPO post-production coverage for round 3. This is what this is what we have, whatever. The FPO actually I got from Steve today while I was in Florida, and I'll have it probably uploaded tomorrow morning. So we'll have FPO 2 and 3. We'll have the mediocre version of MPO 1, and we've got the live version of MPO 3. Not what we want. That's not the that's not the bar we want to set. That's not the standard we want to set. There is some changes that I've made, and I purchased a little piece of equipment that will hopefully help take some of the processing power off the system, so that I can do these recordings. And ultimately, I don't think shouldn't matter in the future because we're not going to be in charge of post-production.
Yeah.
So we will have the other groups come in, and I realize that, as a Smashbox, I think I bit off more than I was prepared to handle. And I thought it could be done easily, and it wasn't nearly as easy as it should have been. I should have been able to just record a copy on here, bring it down, chop it up. But I pushed the system too much, and it didn't like that. I could have fixed it by lowering everything to a 720, the recording, the video, all that stuff. I could have probably done 720, and it would have been smooth. The system would not have hiccuped like it was. But I preferred, and clearly we're in the minority, I guess. I preferred the higher quality live for the people that were watching it. So that is really the entire tech breakdown of what happened for Jonesboro on my side.
Yeah,
and again, I have to take a lot of blame for it, but I will say a couple good things. With the feed, spectacular.
Okay.
The cameramen, way better. They are getting so good. Like I was talking to someone today, and I said, right now our cameramen, for the most part, I think they rival some of the other teams that are out there. Like they're not at the level of a CCDG or Jomez, but we've seen some other production companies that I think these guys are right at their level now. And I think in a couple of rounds, or if we keep these guys for next year, when they get on these courses again and they know what to expect, I think they're going to be even better. That's assuming we keep the same cameramen. I don't know the plan in the future, and I know these guys are professional cameramen because I think I mentioned it last week when I was on the phone with them, and they were talking all about camera lenses and switching out. One guy actually, he's like, "Oh, we're going to do an interview at the end with Paul McBeth. Hold on, I got to go change all my lenses." And I watched him walk into a truck and start swapping lenses out, and I'm thinking like, none of our cameras do that.
Yeah,
like
the only lenses I change are my contact lenses.
Yeah. So that's kind of the whole story behind Jonesboro. Other than one funny anecdote, the very final thing we did was an interview with Paul McBeth, which is cool because it's the first time that we attempted to do. That day was the first day we attempted to do an interview with the booth to a player on the course. We've never done that before. Never tried it.
Never really a full exchange. There's been times where we pass off to to someone in the field, or the field throws it back to the studio.
Yep.
But to have a live exchange, believe it or not, is actually a much more challenging component than most would think. They do it well in the NFL or on CNN or whatever newscast you want to watch with multi-billion-dollar setups. With our style of operation, it's a much bigger task than you may believe.
Correct, because normally we're on a much longer delay. I really, because of how good the equipment is that we have with the Pro Tour, I can really lower that delay, and especially on a course that has really good signal like Jonesboro. So I'm not worried. So I lowered it to a 2-second delay. So we did our interview with Paige. Went spectacular. Cool. That's good. We got our system down. We did it with Paul, and the program that we use, which is just a program on your phone. You have to either hold it down to talk, almost like a walkie-talkie, or you can double tap on it and talk to somebody. Our on-the-field guy handed Paul the headset, handed him the phone, forgot to double tap to turn it on. So Nate and Val asked Paul a question, and as everybody heard, Paul answered, and Nate just said, I can't hear him. I can't hear him. And then I think somebody basically said, it might have been me, it might have been whomever. I just said, go with it. So Paul would talk, Nate and Val would watch, wait for him to stop moving his mouth, and then ask him another question. Nate handled it like a champ. Both of them did, Nate and Val, but I think Nate was the one that actually led that particular interview. All because of a simple click.
Yeah.
So Paul could hear them, but his audio wasn't going to Nate and Val.
Sure.
So if you go back and watch, it's a little awkward. It's not horrible. But for what they did, hands down, a solid interview for my only hearing one side. And it, again, look at the one from Paige. There's a little more interaction. Look at the one from Paul, where it felt a little stunted because of that. It was a little more awkward. And it's one of those live things that just weird things happen. Because I even talked to the guy afterwards and said, hey, Wade, did you remember to double tap? And he goes, what do you, seriously? And I go, yeah. And he goes, how did it go? I said, not bad. Not spectacular, but not bad. So that's your behind the scenes on Jonesboro.
Well, I think, there was obviously, and rightfully so, there was certainly some frustration out there on a number of fronts. And I think a lot of, what you just said explained or addressed some of those things. I think it's fair for everyone to hear and know what was going on. Not every single detail, but quite a few of them. And, there's to some degree a frustration point that we came to the realization when you're talking about not having either those extra cameras or extra editors, the extra staff, the extra crew that makes up both post and live. And then there's a certain reliance only on one situation. And then, things don't necessarily go perfectly on that side. It really puts you in a corner in somewhat of a bad spot. And I feel like there was a combination of a number of things that didn't go right. And then they, unfortunately snowball a little bit. And next thing you know, you've got some, relatively, frustrated viewers, people that are typically supportive and just want to consume content. And, it's.
And I get it. Like,
yeah.
I said this to somebody on Reddit. I said, or maybe it was Course Review. I forget. I said, we have done this at SmashBoxx for 5 years. There's been, I kind of consider disc golf media truly about 20 years old. There were videos before, but usually it was like once a year you get a Worlds video. I think disc golf media is about 20 years old solid when we started getting consistent like disc life and just these constant things we see. The Pro Tour has been around this year with this new plan for about 45 days. Like that from the first event we started to this. And granted, we've all said there should have been a little more planning. We should have, there should have been some things. This was the first event technically that SmashBoxx was a part of. I helped out at the memorial. But I'm trying to look at this as a long-term situation. It does suck because people want to watch what they want to watch and they want to watch it now. They don't care that there are all these issues. They don't. They just want to see what they want to see. And, why are you having all these problems? This should be easy. You've done it before. And as I said, yeah, some of it is looking really easy, but when you change, and we're changing hopefully for the good, for the long term, we're going to have issues. And if this is the beginning of a very good setup, in 3 years, nobody will care that we had 3 events where they were cruddy. Like there were tons of issues. If this is the beginning of the end, which I don't think it is, but if this is the beginning of the end, we'll look back and say, oh, we see now why that caused that. But I told somebody, I said, in 5 years, these 3 events will probably be treated like the 2011 Worlds DVD or Chains, the DVD. Ouch. People just forget about it. People don't realize that some people donated money, asked, tried to get DVDs, that there was a, and that it just fell through and never happened for one reason or another. And we were, for years, we were promised this DVD, and just the guy who was making it just got busy and did other things and did bigger, literally like Hollywood type things, and it just never happened. And people were out money, not a lot, I don't think, but enough. And I'm hoping that we look back at this time and say, oh God, yeah, that started out rough, but I'm glad we've done this and we are now at this position. It's such a small time frame for such a big media. It's just that 95% of the people, 99% of the people don't care about 2 years from now or 3 years from now or 5 years from now. They care about right now, and I don't blame them. Because they don't have to care about the future. And that's, and unfortunately, I can't have that perspective. I see the problems and I want to fix them and we want to do our best, but I have to try to look at the big picture, because if I just get stuck in the small picture, I'm going to pull my hair out.
Well, hopefully we've that learning, either the learning curve or challenges and technology, like you said, there's always going to be something. Hopefully these are just building blocks to then get over a hump, to then hit a stride that we're all striving for, within SmashBoxx, within the Pro Tour, with all of the media companies, as we're all kind of forging forward. And speaking of which, a huge contributor, just he's relentless.
Disc Baron, thank you.
Baron. Another super chat. We do appreciate it, Disc Baron. Thank you very much for that. So, all right. Well, there's some insight. I feel like I said, some of our viewers are interested. A number of people have said on the board they're thankful for the clarifications. Yeah. People, of course, jump to their own conclusions and/or their own frustrations, and they're going to continue to run with it. But I think it's valuable that when these hiccups or these challenges come about, that at least if we can provide you a little bit of the true story, the backstory, good, bad, or indifferent, being able to share it with you is something that I want to do, because hopefully you learn and grow and understand along with us as best as you can. And you may hear all of that and say, yeah, that's great, cool story. It
Get
still
it to
sucked.
work.
Yeah, exactly. And that's fine too.
It's valid.
But at least, hopefully, there's a little bit of insight and information there for you, so you can do what you want with it.
The last complaint that I want to talk about is I guess there's technically two. The camera selection. One, I can't say it's 100% on me because it's partially related to what Steve wants. There's two things that we want to try to do more of: player reaction, and I don't necessarily want to do more of this, but then there is these as the players tap out, picture-in-picture graphics, the advertisement while players are putting out. Jomez does it. I don't know if Central Coast does it, but they do these things.
I don't give you ads in my.
And I know one of the advantage that post-production gets is that they know that if Ricky's going to miss a 15-foot putt, don't make that a picture-in-picture. Maybe you shift that. I don't know that, and I don't expect Ricky to miss 15-foot putts. But sure enough, I think there was a time when Ricky did it, when I was like, cool, this is a 15-second ad. We have one guy that's out 15 feet. Everyone else is around the bucket. Now's a great time to do it so that we're not pushing into the whole preview of the next thing. So I shrink it up. Ricky doinks and rolls down the hill. Maybe it was 20 feet. Either way, I don't expect Ricky to miss those. That stinks. But everyone still saw it. I thought, no big deal, Then there was one time Kevin Jones did it. He was having some putting issues that round, and I threw picture-in-picture. He missed. Whatever, he did it. There's a lot of people that don't like that. There's a lot of people that don't think I should be doing that at all during shots. I can understand that perspective, and that's fine, and we can agree or disagree. It's something that Steve asked. They're literally in our rundown sheet. It's called tap-in ads, for when the players are tapping in. So consider a tap-in what it is. If they're all around the basket, that takes 7 seconds for those guys to tap in. We have a 15-second ad. I have to pick and choose. The other thing people don't like is when apparently player reactions. There are times that I would hold on a player a little longer than normal because it's like a big hyzer or something, and you see the guys kind of like Ricky is notorious for like leaning or like kind of shifting his hands, and I kind of like to see that. We see so much of the backs of these players, we rarely get to see their face on coverage. So I would choose to hold those shots a little longer, try to catch the disc about halfway through the flight to get out. People don't like that either. Show me the entire disc flight. I want to see it come out of their hand all the way through, then you switch over, and then you get it land. Okay, cool. I get it. That's what you want. I kind of like to see the player reaction.
Sure.
So there are times I took the player reaction, would put it in a picture-in-picture. So I would hold on the player for like maybe 1 extra second. So you'd see the player throw, it would leave their hand, and then a second later I would cut to the catch cam, which would get it coming in 90%. I don't think people like that either. And I thought that was a pretty good solution. But some people just are like, no, we have a format. You film from behind the player, you get them throwing, and then you get, it landing. And people literally said, I don't care what the player's doing. I personally do. I like to see the emotion. I like to see it's part of what makes live to us. We discussed this earlier. Like, that's the stuff you don't really get too much of in post-production. I think Central Coast has added a little bit into there. But you don't get to see the players when they turn around and walk to their disc and they're upset. Or, you've got, at one point we saw Kevin Jones. We turned around and we were on the reaction cam. Kevin Jones had his face in his hands because he was so upset with himself. Like, those are things you just don't usually get to see because most of the camera crews are kind of set in a specific thing. And I want to try to get more of that reaction in there. I try not to sacrifice. I try to pick and choose times when there's either going to be, when it's an easier shot. Hey, look, this is a big hyzer. We've all seen big hyzers. It's not like you're shaping a shot through some woods where anything could happen. It could hit a tree and kick off to the left. And like, look, these guys threw a big hyzer and they're kind of leaning or they want to miss that one tree. I try to pick and choose those the way I do, but I'm not always going to be 100% on those because live is live and that's the way it is. And I don't think that's going to change. So if you don't like it, I'll do my best to pick and choose better, but I find a little interest in that. And I didn't do it every hole. I think I'd pick maybe twice a round where I would do that. And I usually would do it for 3 or 4 of the players on the card. I'd be like, cool, I'm going to do 3 players in this card and maybe 3 on the next one, and we'll see how it goes. So if that was one of your big issues, sorry, I just don't believe that's going to change much.
Okay. Well, there you have it. The guy that presses the buttons.
I push buttons.
And Wesley Warren pressed a button or two and provided us with a super chat. Thank you very much. We appreciate that as well. And, people will continue to talk about ways that you can go about reaction. And, as you're alluding to, there's a lot of different styles and ways that it could be captured or incorporated. And, for what it's worth, Steve Dodge is also very, very interested in, trying to bring that element into your home, into your, onto your screen more often as well. Because as you said, we see a lot of throws, we see the disc land, and then maybe or maybe not, depending on the gallery, we may or may not hear a reaction from the gallery. Seeing that actual facial expression or that body English and the movements and the various, thrust or leans or whatever, those air kicks, all of the above that you see out of our players, those are great to see. And I think we're going to see more of those. So, all right. Well, I am now going to officially call our regular show. I think we're going to have a relatively brief after show. We talked about a lot of things here tonight.
Yeah, I'm tired.
But yeah, exactly. I have a little bit of editing to wrap up on my end. As I alluded to earlier, I've got some more of the Amateur World Doubles action to put out, kind of the last day and a half of stuff that I captured. So I'm excited to get that out in the next 2 days here as well. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, stick around. Of course, during the after show, we'll talk a little bit about things non-disc golf related, along with some disc golf topics. We'll also have a giveaway for our Patreon supporters because we love them so much and we appreciate each and every one of you. And we're looking forward to all of that. So for Johnny V and Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, this has been episode 243. Stick around for the after show. We'll see you then when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the Smashbox TV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Smashbox TV's podcast 243 After Show.
Patented Bobby Brown. They're calling theirs the After Show. I know.
They would.
God. The nice thing is they have to mention Smashbox every time they do it.
After Snore is more like it, or something like that. Obviously, in the regular show, we talked quite a bit with Dynamic Disc's very own Robert McCall, also squeaking into the frame for a little bit. We had a conversation with AJ Risley, so thank you to those guys for joining us. And as Johnny and I just mentioned a little while ago, well, I guess in our very short break, after show probably won't go on too long tonight. Johnny's had a pretty long day as he traveled back and forth from Florida.
4:30 this morning. I did nap a little bit on that first plane, though.
Did you have any layovers?
Yes, Atlanta.
Ugh.
Which, honestly, the first layover, when I landed in Atlanta, I think we landed at 9:50. I look at my phone to look at my next thing. I was like, oh, cool. My plane boards at 10:15. So I had about 20 minutes after getting off the plane to walk. Thankfully, only one concourse over. And I answered a phone call from work and then got right on the next plane. And the next plane was just a 1 hour. It was not even. It was like 48 minutes up and down. So that was almost nothing.
Yeah, and I guess I should clarify. When I said, ew, I don't mean that from like a layover perspective specifically. I mean it more from a
Atlanta airport?
No, not from and that either. I also didn't mean to reference it that way. Just the fact that by its nature, a layover always just adds an element of uncertainty because
of course.
One flight is always one thing, but then as soon as you're adding that another one,
and especially when they're that tight too.
And when they're already tight, and then tonight, for instance, when you were somewhat on a timetable, try and get back as soon as possible, as close to 9 o'clock as you could. Just having that layover in there always is just another, just a little hint of something that could go wrong. But obviously everything seemed to work out just fine today. So real quick, even though it's already the after show, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone that is either signed up or going the one or two spots that are maybe available this weekend. Tom McManus and myself running a PDGA B tier called the Skyline Classic, driven by Innova.
That's this weekend?
So I would like to, of course, thank Innova, first and foremost, for being yet another supporter of the event as they support the entire Wisconsin Disc Golf Tour, but also for this event.
Very cool.
So thank you to them. And the last I had checked, and I haven't checked my email now in a few minutes since being on the show, but there was literally one or two or maybe three spots available left in the entire tournament. So, of course, super happy that when things are sold out, reduces everyone's stress level by a little bit. Well, until I start getting the nasty phone calls and emails and messages saying, hey, man, I meant to sign up. I went to sign up like I logged in like 2 weeks ago, and I saw that the registration, there were a bunch of spots available, but then like something brought me away from my computer, and I forgot to like finish the registration. So I totally meant to sign up, but now I see it's full. So can you like put me in?
This is my favorite character Terry plays is dumb disc golfer.
or disingenuous one. Or clever disc golfer, because this is the other one that I'm gonna get in, I'd say, the next 24 hours. Hey man, like Skyline is like full, I think, but like it says you only have 144, and like that's like only 4 on a card. So you could totally just go to like 5 sums, and like me and my 3 buddies could all then sign up.
Or, I played an event where they had a ghost hole. Could you do that?
No.
But can you like add some holes?
Well, yeah, it wouldn't be that hard. There's like a ton of room out there.
Yeah.
Like you could just, or actually, like at one of those courses, there's 18 holes, and then there's a 9-holer in the park. Like we could just play like a couple of those holes too, and then you could fit more people.
Yeah.
Man, disc golfers that are potentially on waiting lists and not in tournaments all of a sudden become the smartest people in the world and have all of the smartest ideas. And I guarantee I will hear them. I have had regional pros get quite feisty with me throughout the years, people that should know better, that get feisty with me and start spitting out some of these brilliant ideas about how they could find themselves into the tournament. So there's a reason I'm down to running just a couple events a year. At a certain point, I'll admit some of my patience has worn a little too thin for it. So, but I am excited about the people that have signed up, as registration's been available for the last 60 or so days. And I think Ryan Pilcher, one of our favorite Smashies, I think he actually just mentioned moments ago that it sounds like there is just 1 or 2 spots officially available yet.
Someone says, do the Bert and Ernie voices.
I don't.
Oh, okay, Bert.
I don't think.
Are you sleeping? No. Rubber ducky, you're the one. I do Bert. I do Ernie, but I don't do Bert. Sorry.
Well, see,
because my daughter loves Ernie, so I kind of had to learn the Ernie voice.
Well, yeah. Why aren't you playing this weekend? You scared?
I honestly forgot about it. I don't know what I'm doing this weekend. Let me take a look. Literally, my wife is getting very frustrated because of all the time I'm going to be gone. This weekend's Easter, right?
Sunday. Yes. Well, Sunday, yes.
Yeah, she's going to be gone, actually.
Bowling Green AMs is going on this weekend. That's something else I guess we kind of glossed over a little bit earlier. But Bowling Green AMs.
Like, is there room in the tournament? Can I wait to sign up to see who's in my division?
723 people currently registered and signed up for the Bowling Green AM tournament. So that's pretty cool to see.
On Saturday, I have an alert in my phone that says my friend Steve Held still does not own a Spider motorcycle. It repeats every year for the past 5 or 6 years. When he told me, I'm going to buy one, I said, no, you're not.
Yeah,
He's like, no, I think I'm going to get one. I said, no, you're not. I'm going to put a reminder on my phone. And so when he hears this, because he usually listens, he'll call me and be like, dude, you're such a jerk.
Cool. Yeah, it's not cool. So as of right now, do I have a refund to process? Ooh, there might be a spot for you, Johnny, if you want to play Saturday. One Steve Held, who you just mentioned, is signed up for Saturday's play. First of all, everyone's playing Saturday. I
would be in the amateur division.
Yeah, we'd find a good amateur. There's FA1, there's MA4. We could find a division for you.
Me, so.
That's true. We could find a division for you. I think I have one refund that came in earlier tonight that I have to process.
Let me see
Advanced Masters. Mike Newhouse, who won this last weekend. Evan the Crusher. Evan and Evan's Mowing Lawn Care
Sign me up
service.
Then. What day is it?
I'll let you sign up. Give me your money.
I can PayPal you right now.
Hundreds. There's a late fee that kicked in 10 minutes ago.
Damn it!
It started at midnight tonight. No, seriously, I think I will double check. I may have one refund that needs to be processed, and if so, that might open up a spot for you.
Ooh. This is the advantage of sitting right next to you sometimes.
They all say there is an advantage.
No, they don't.
I'm going to go out on a limb, and I'm going to leave it at this until next Tuesday, or you'll see some posts this weekend. I would like to think the trophies I'm giving out this weekend have never
I see one.
Have never been awarded, and you're not going to guess what it is because it's that obscure. But the trophies I am giving out this weekend
Unique.
have never been awarded in disc golf before. They are a unique take. I'd like to thank my one hint will be Hand-Eye Supply, who did our event stamp and is just Crispin over there, just an amazing individual. He was there with the assist, so I will say that he is involved. But the trophies for this weekend's event, it is a trophy-only event, so you're getting a large player pack, thanks in part to Innova, of course, and SmashBoxx. But the trophy this weekend, I can all but guarantee you have never seen this trophy been given out before in disc golf.
Are you going to show it?
No. I'm going to leave it. I want to leave it as a surprise. So, yeah, for what that's worth. I don't know how well received they're going to be. I think they're pretty cool.
I think they're
clever. Definitely unique. Clever, unique. And I hope they're well received. But, yes, this weekend we're going to see some cool trophies. And believe it or not, they're actually pretty much done. Sometimes I have a challenge with getting trophies together and available for tournaments. It's probably, honestly, my biggest challenge in all of disc golf is to have trophies available and ready to go in time. But this year, they are. So super excited to see that. Hey, I never even thought about it. I should reach out to UDisc. Maybe we should UDisc this tournament this weekend. Nah, they probably
doubt it.
Okay, maybe not.
This weekend, Calvin Heimberg, now I have a reason to punch you because you knocked me out of my Survivor League.
Ouch.
He took 17th. He was
Calvin.
2 strokes out of 15th where you need to finish, and I was eliminated. Just this morning, there was an issue with the sorting of the Survivor League, so it was fixed this morning after 2 weeks, and ultimately, I got knocked out. So I now have only 4 points when everyone else who's winning has 5.
Ouch.
So I'm.
Speaking of Calvin,
yeah.
For the final round of Tallahassee, which has been released and I think has been pretty well received, and I'm glad people like it. I had done commentary with Zach Melton in person while we were in Tallahassee for the first round. For the second round, I did it while, as I was traveling to Dallas this weekend. And then for the third round, Calvin was with Zach, and Zach wanted to do the commentary. And I thought, well, rather than me doing it with Zach from afar in 2 different rooms, why don't we have Calvin and Zach do it for just a different perspective? People seem to really be enjoying Zach, which we talked about earlier in the regular show.
Did you cover that Zach really doesn't like Kelvin?
I think Zach said that at some point during it.
Oh, really?
No. But they're traveling together, so I thought, how great would that be? I'll just have them do it because they're literally in the same room together. That will make for a better experience rather than Zach and I doing it from afar. Well, sure enough, some meanie on the internet said, oh, so we're back to that again, having the winner of the tournament guest commentate the final round. It's like, no, they're just traveling together. He happened to win, but that's not necessarily why I had him on there. It was going to make for a much better experience. And you really got a taste of Kelvin's dry humor. And if you think he gives awkward interviews, he does. And if you think he's funny because he's got a very dry sense of humor, he is. And again, it wasn't for everyone. Most people seem to like it, but I really like the Kelvin and Zach combo on that final round. So it's out there. It's thanks to Tallahassee and their club and all the people out there. But it's available, and I hope that you guys enjoy it. Maker's Telemark says it was basically one-liners, dry AF after another. Fantastic. So, and if you don't like it, I get it too. But I feel like it was just unique. It was a great opportunity to have Calvin and Zach, who are in the same room, be able to do it. And so I appreciate the heck out of both of them. And I appreciate Zach, who did ultimately all 3 rounds of commentary on Tallahassee. And I express frustration all the time that it's really tough to get commentators after the fact. And Zach was super accommodating and really stepped up in a big way. So I appreciate it. All right, Johnny, what else did we see out there? Is there Masters Week was pretty crazy, of course.
I saw some people today in the Atlanta airport all with their Masters gear on. A lot of them are flying home to wherever they were going, and that was kind of cool. Everyone was kind of excited and a little abuzz about it. And I talked to you about this, and I was going to bring it up with Robert, but I didn't really think there was a point to it. But at some point, Tiger Woods changed from a villain who cheated on his wife with dozens of other women.
Only dozens?
I think. Who knows? To a sympathetic character who was trying to get his life back together, to a guy who's overcoming injuries, now to a hero again.
Yes.
Like, it's a very interesting change over the past 10 years. Like, that right now, for whatever reason, so many people have just forgotten about his cruddy past and are really focused on the redemption story.
Yep.
I just
Is that surprising to you? Is the embrace surprising?
The full embrace is surprising to me. That I have, and maybe I haven't gone out and looked, I'm sure that's out there, that there is zero sort of pushback on this. It seems like the entire world, like Robert was saying, was rooting for this. And I don't have a stake in it. I think Tiger is good for the game of golf. I think it gets more exposure when he's doing well. People like to see him win. I'm just a little surprised I have not seen hardly any pushback to say, well, this guy was kind of a scumbag for years and got away with it. And now everybody has just washed their hands of it. And look at him. He's a dad and, he's got a fiance, girlfriend, wife, whomever it is. And they're happy and rah, rah, Tiger.
Yeah. So, I mean, a full
recovery plan.
Yeah. And this is something else. Obviously, before he won, one of the things I actually did, which I never have done before, is I had some YouTube playing in the background of these pre-event interviews. And just to put one little component of that in perspective, and the numbers were on this scale. Now, of course, they've grown, but I feel like they were still at this level and on this scale from a few days ago. Here's something that I almost posted about that I thought was so interesting. Tiger, these are videos, or I'm sorry, these are YouTube videos, interviews before the event happened. And I was looking at some of the numbers for these pre-round interviews. And let me read a few of these to you. And again, I don't know some of these people, and I'm not that big of a golf fan that I should know all of them. But just to read a few names. Yeah. Patrick Reed.
Who's a major champion.
8,800 views for an interview, right? This is pre-event. These are pre-event interviews. Wow, holy cow, there's even more than I realized. Okay, let me back up. Justin Rose, 8,600 views on his pre-event interview. Keith Mitchell, 1,200 views. Ricky Fowler, 26,000 views. Bryson DeChambeau, 7,800 views. Tommy Fleetwood, 6,100. A couple other people, so on and so forth.
Get to Tiger.
You're talking, here's an average of somewhere between 2,000 and we'll say about 10,000 views.
It's not an average, but that's a range.
Range, thank you. Tiger Woods pre-event interview, 276,000.
Now, how many of those were before?
Correct.
I think I'm sure a lot of them.
The scale was still there. When there was 1,000 views on some of these other people, Tiger Woods had 25,000, and that's why it jumped out at me that night. This was back on what must have been, I don't know, Wednesday or Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday night.
I want to be clear that I don't necessarily fall into the camp that he's not worthy of a redemption, that he hasn't quote unquote served his time or whatever in the public eye. I think everybody has a right to a second chance, and if he has his life together now, more power to him, and I'm happy for him. I just thought it was funny that there was that there wasn't much of the kickback, is all I'm saying. Not that I don't think he deserves everything he's busted his ass to get to, when considering he said that even 2 years ago he could barely walk.
Yeah. Well, let me put this in maybe a slightly better perspective and say Phil Mickelson and Rory McIlroy, 47,000 and 46,000 views respectively on their interviews, posted within I think a matter of minutes or hours. Was Tiger's. He's at 276,000, literally 5.5 times the amount the second highest player does. And then that's what got me to think, where are we at in disc golf? Do we have that conversation in disc golf? Is there anyone, and of course Paul McBeth has to come to mind with his contract and everything else, do we have that much disparity in our players, in our viewership? Would it be a little more even if you put out an interview?
No, Paul
before the
McBeth is
USDGC?
going to dominate that view count. He's going to be 10-1 over everybody.
Interesting to see. So, and yes, another side story that I know someone just also posted about was there was a person who made an $85,000 bet, and then with the odds that turned out to be 1.2 million. Is that what I think I saw out there?
Yeah, something along those lines.
That's all right.
Yeah.
1 point. Yeah, laying down an $85,000 bet.
That's apparently his very first bet or something he's ever made. I don't.
Oh, I just thought I'd just throw down 85,000 then. Yeah,
there's something.
I don't know any of that story.
Maybe it's true, but there's something in that story that just doesn't pass the smell test.
Okay. Anyway, thought it was really interesting to see, again, those views, just how much Tiger obviously still moving the needle. And I'm clearly not alone. I don't really know much or care much about golf. And Tiger Woods, who was just coming into the scene right around our college years, that 96, 97 time frame, as Tiger was entering into professional golf, he made it exciting for me. Like, I never cared about golf. I never followed. I never once looked at stats or results or knew anything about really following the PGA Tour. And Tiger single-handedly made me at least a fan. And I'm going to say, judge or otherwise, I feel like Ronda Rousey somewhat did that for me, and probably a lot of other people too, at least on the female side of MMA. Like, I literally knew nothing about MMA, but there was a story around Ronda Rousey a couple years ago now, and that's what got me interested. It was her story and her successes and everything that was, her.
Which is funny because for Tiger, I've never been a huge fan in general of golf. I would watch when Tiger was playing, but that's literally about it, unless I wanted to take a nap. But Ronda Rousey never did that for me, ever.
Sure, and
it feels a lot to me like the Olympic syndrome, where every 4 years people get really excited for something that they never see. Me, I would actually, if I happened to catch it on NBC, I would sit and watch a swim meet because I was a swimmer in high school and I had a general feeling. So I don't mind actually sitting and watching that. Whereas if most of the time people only watch it during the Olympics, it's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
The 50 meter, and that's awesome.
50 meter, I don't even know the strokes. Yeah, free, sure. Butterfly. They still do
back, breast.
Yep.
All those.
Is there any other outside of those? What are those the main four?
Those are the four.
Is there any other?
Not Olympic. And not.
Is there an eagle stroke?
There's not.
Side stroke?
Not Olympic. Frog? The doggy paddle?
Yeah.
Like, the 100-meter doggy paddle?
There should be a competition about how far back and forth in a pool you can go holding your breath. And obviously there's people that can, do it for minutes, but I want to see.
I'm sure there's a world. In a pool?
Yeah, in the pool.
Like, I was just thinking, like, there's probably
competition
a world record of underwater breath holding. I guarantee.
Oh yeah, but David Blaine all day.
Sure.
Actually, I did watch a really interesting piece about him. That's another story, but about what he learned to do some of his tricks and how some of them aren't totally hoaxy, if that's a word. Anyway. All right. A golden belly flop. Yeah, I'd love to see some of those. What else do we got?
Not much. Let's give something away.
Okay. Let's give something away. I've got a bunch of stuff. I'll find something good for you to give away.
Game of Thrones was fun to watch for those of you. I'm not going to spoil anything, but everybody died. No, it was fun. It was like a big family reunion kind of thing, and I'm looking forward to the next 3 or 4 episodes. It's going to be exciting, and it's the culmination of a lot of effort.
Is this the last season?
This is the final season.
Damn
not
it.
too late to get in.
I was just gonna say I've never watched.
It's not too late to get in.
60 seconds of Game of Thrones.
Would you sit and watch the final episode?
No.
Why not?
Because I obviously I know nothing that's going on.
If I gave you a quick breakdown, now I'm not going to do it on the air here, but if I give you a quick breakdown, I said, you wouldn't sit and watch it? Because it is going to be one of the biggest watched events in history for cable TV, at least.
Okay.
I mean, we're never going to touch. We're never going to touch MASH.
Am I going to watch it live or in post?
we'll see if someone. Well, ask CCTG.
Is there a chat board available? I mean,
there might be.
No,
but just because you would not want to be involved at all with that cultural event, other than probably some snide remark like, "Oh, was something on tonight?" Which
True.
I'm sure you'll probably do.
Probably. It's just so funny how the little I know, it still doesn't interest me.
Because I would think of you as someone who just in general likes to be part of the cultural phenomenon at times, would watch the final one. Like, I wouldn't expect you to like, hey, Terry, here's the top 10 episodes you should watch to keep up. Like, if I just said, hey, there's a dragon, there's a queen, there's a dude, he's this and she's that, and this is what's going to happen. I think you could get enjoyable.
Only because I'm really good at being a dick.
I couldn't watch it with you personally.
I know. I was going to say, only because I'm really good at that. I would love to go just to be a snide jerk during the whole thing. And so I'd be very uninvited.
I wouldn't watch
reasons.
it with you. I would somehow let you watch it and then let me talk afterwards, but I would not watch it with you.
No, I don't know that. I don't. I'm sorry. But you're right. Maybe for the sake of what the experience is and the fact that I won't say, oh, because everyone's doing it, but for the sake of what the experience is, maybe in the right setting, maybe I would entertain the idea of watching it, but not if it like conflicted with like something I truly cared about, and it probably won't.
On
what is it on
Sunday night?
Sunday night,
8 or 9 o'clock. Yeah.
I mean, Gilmore Girls. But
that's off the air now.
Oh, damn it.
I've watched all those.
No, you're right. I was going to say the only other thing I could think of is if I was like flying somewhere, flying home from a tournament, which would be quite plausible. But
Sam Martin says JVD won't share his HBO password. Hint, hint. Johnny V uses somebody else's HBO password.
How about I do a reaction video to it? Isn't that all the rage? I could watch and do a reaction.
Only if you first do like an unboxing of it. Like, oh, here's my Game of Thrones video.
No, I guess I would entertain the idea. I mean, around the right people, I would entertain the idea of watching it for the finale. When is that going to be? Come on, pull up your calendar. Like, you don't have it in your phone?
No.
How many seasons has it been going?
This is 8. What is the finale? That was the first one. Let's see here.
Oh my gosh!
Probably like the first week of July. That was Winterfell. So we're looking at May 19th.
May 19th. Okay. I mean, you know what's happening that weekend.
There's naked ladies in it.
Okay.
Just saying. I mean, I'm trying to interest you
know what's
here.
happening that weekend. I mean, isn't that what Masters Cup Pro weekend? Oh my gosh. There's usually karaoke on Sunday nights. after the Masters Cup. I'm just saying. Page peers, and other people all karaokeing.
No, because they'll all be watching Game of Thrones.
I know they will be. I'm sure they will be.
Germ's probably gonna have a big party about it, and you'll see Kale there, and I don't know, just based on being the cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, I mean that would be the one reason
it's
I would entertain the idea of it.
It's kind of like, again, it's people on Facebook that are, I get this when you're sitting there, you're like, no, I'm not watching Game of Thrones, and I'm like, good for you.
Sure.
Guess what? Did you tell me how you're not watching the Masters too? When Tiger's winning, did you tell me how you refuse to watch, X, Y, and Z because everybody else is watching it? Great. You didn't go to Star Wars? Like, grow up. Let people enjoy their thing. There's a very funny comic that I like that usually someone will say something, somebody else will respond with a snide comment, and then there's a comic of a guy squeezing somebody else's lips and just going, shh, let people enjoy things.
Yeah.
It's my favorite. Like, just at this point in social media's history, the snide or even the off comment, like, what's going on tonight? I'm over them. Like, okay, whatever. Like, great. It doesn't, like, it might have been funny when the internet first came out. At this point now, I'm just kind of like, whatever.
I think it's great that people rally around, and obviously, it's a cultural phenomenon, how much people get into it.
Sure.
I will say the only argument that I kind of always rely on when it comes to some of these things, and I think it spans across a lot of different subjects and or interest, is the response from some that say, well, but everyone else is watching it, or it's only the most popular thing on. And to me, like, that argument also holds no water, for me whatsoever. It's just because it's popular.
Sure.
I also don't think necessarily that means it's good. There's a lot of things that are incredibly popular that absolutely don't interest me.
McDonald's. It's super popular, but I wouldn't necessarily call it good.
Yeah.
I know
certain genres of music.
I'm
certain
with you. I don't like country music. It's super popular. I never liked Seinfeld. I still don't really like Seinfeld. And it was one of the most popular TV shows in history. I watch it and I go, there's an occasional laugh here, but I don't, not that I don't get it. I just don't enjoy it. That's just me. Like, I would so much rather, I would so much rather watch 30 Rock or Scrubs or whatever. To me, Seinfeld was meh. I'd 100% rather watch Cheers.
Oh, Woody.
Yeah.
Norm. Those are my guys.
Coach.
Coach
from season 1.
Coach.
Coach season 1.
Nah, I couldn't get into Coach. I did not think it was.
He basically was in one season before we were old enough practically to watch.
Yeah, I was never a fan of Coach. Bless you. Cheers was pretty good. Yeah. Even though it's funny because when we were at an age where Cheers was almost a little bit too, old or mature for us.
A little bit.
A little bit. I mean,
yeah.
it certainly
it's
wasn't
not mature, but it was
well, it
about
wasn't,
older people when we were younger.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say it wasn't something that was necessarily geared towards us, and whether we liked it or not, I guess you could give or take, but it wasn't programmed for our age group.
Correct.
At that time. All right, let's give something away.
All right, we have 211 patrons this week. If you would like to be eligible for our weekly giveaway in the after show, you can go to patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Give it any amount, and you will qualify for our weekly giveaway.
Heck yeah.
Terry, as we so love to do, because people don't ever want to see the very first number, what number should we pick?
Well, Tiger just won his 15th major.
But only his 5th Masters,
Green
I think.
jacket. Let's go with, you know what? I covered the PDGA Amateur World Doubles presented by Hauk Design. I don't get paid to say that all, but it was a doubles event. And I like the number 4. No, I'd like the number 2 for that. Let's do
2. It's you playing
2.
foursomes. All right, we'll do 2.
2.
All right, so we're going to generate number. Oh, let me put this on the screen here. Generate number 1 is 141. I sorted these by total amount donated to Patreon.
In
so
history.
the newest
Wow.
the newest people are at the very top. Number 2 is number 96. So
right in the middle.
We're going to go right down to 96.
A middle giver.
Which I think is this one. I'm going to pull it down because it's very far away. 96 is Michael Flores.
Michael Flores.
He's right here. I just moved
Michael,
it again.
I'm going to need, well,
There he is,
we'll
number
send you an
96.
email. Johnny V will send you an email. Then you're going to need to reply to that email to confirm that we have your right or correct shipping address. And I'll also put this out there generically that in the next couple of days, things are getting caught up, blah, blah, blah. I usually do these in big batch processes.
You guys don't want to see that?
If you're waiting on something or you've won something, and double check that your email, we always want to double check that we have the correct shipping address for you. So please check your email and make sure that I have your correct shipping address so that if we are sending out prizes to you, you're going to get them. Or if we're going to see you at GBO and we need you to bring you something, we can do that as well. But just double check that we have the right address for you, and we will get your items sent out. I've got a lot of discs that we've been giving away lately. We're going to have some new items here coming in that may get thrown into the mix of our Patreon prize pool. But thank you guys so much.
I see Dion made a comment like, look at Johnny Disc Golf channel for interview stats. Where's Johnny Disc Golf doing? I haven't seen him lately.
I think he played in San Francisco this weekend.
Did he? Okay. I'm just going to say.
Or
like,
a week or two ago, maybe.
Did something.
Yeah, I don't know, because I was expecting to see him maybe at a few more events with the way that I felt like he kind of structured or set up what he was going to be doing this year. And I was kind of surprised to see him also not like in a Jonesboro or whatever. But I think he was out in San Francisco recently is what I saw.
Okay.
I believe Anheuser TV was one of the few crews that were able to capture stuff and then get it ready for post out there at Jonesboro.
Yes, I think that comes out. Their stuff comes out Wednesday.
Yeah, he was on the board a little earlier, so go check that out. You'll have some action.
Props to him.
You'll have some action from there. And I've got some new things in the works I haven't even told you about. So
what?
Post-production continues to ramp up and move forward throughout this year as I'm doing that both in conjunction with a number of live events. So super excited. We got some new things on the way for post-production.
Okay.
All right, guys, we're going to call it. Johnny V is going to go to bed. I'm going to do some editing and get geared up this weekend. Skyline Classic. If you want to come watch Johnny V play, just show up. Silver Lake, Wisconsin. You can watch the man in Advanced Masters do his thing. Should I? Oh, I'm going to sell VIP passes.
That's a great idea. You will make absolutely zero money.
VIP JV passes. Oh my gosh. VIP JVPs. I don't know. We'll have them available. Of course, a discount for all of our Smashies that need them.
Yeah.
We'll do that. So for Johnny V and myself, Terry Miller, the Disc Golf Guy, all of our Patreon supporters, we love you guys so much. Thank you for the help and the contributions. We're going to always continue to push forward and make things better for you. And even if we don't make them better, you still have a chance to win. So there's your upside to that. Even if we're no good, you could still win stuff for supporting us, and we appreciate it. We'll catch you guys next week for episode 244. There may be a special guest interview by an Advanced Master Skyline champion. Who knows? Maybe, maybe not.
Probably
not. Get your wagers in today if Johnny V's got a chance. We'll see you guys next week. You can step inside the Smashbox.